But you did, didn't you?
I did.
Any bites? Anything close?
Just interesting.
Yeah. How many people know the secret sound?
2.
Who's the other person?
I get you away. You're really delving in now the news hound, aren't you?
I'm on behalf of the listener here.
No, I know that. I am too, in a way. But
So tomorrow it's €1,000. I know you are on behalf of the listener, Lee.
No, I know. You know the crack.
It's not the highest. It's been much higher than that before.
No, there was a guy that won from Buncrana, won about nearly $2.5 grand. He sent me a postcard from Canada. I remember it well. He says, thanks to Secret Sound, I had a trip to Canada.
Wow.
I loved it. I
Brilliant.
loved that.
Okay, so it's a milestone tomorrow. It's a big one.
Big grand
€1,000.
tomorrow, yeah.
All right, Lee, see you then. It's the 9 till noon show on the way. Let's first get a news update at 9 o'clock or a minute past. And it's good morning to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The Taoiseach Minister for Foreign Affairs has confirmed around 50 Irish citizens have been evacuated from Sudan to date. However, Micheál Martin says it will take a number of days before all 150 Irish people who want to leave the country can be assisted. 12 Defence Forces personnel have been sent to the region. Some left last night, with others due to depart today. It follows the 10th day of fighting in the country, which resulted in the death of over 130 lives. The Taoiseach says they're continuing to keep in contact with citizens in Khartoum.
Up to 50 Irish citizens were evacuated since yesterday from Khartoum to Djibouti with the support of France and Spain. And this is part of a wider coordinated evacuation of European Union citizens. We will continue to maintain contact with our citizens in Khartoum, and we would urge citizens to follow the Embassy of Ireland in Kenya on Twitter.
The GSOC controversy has shaken people's confidence in the justice system. That's the view of the Labour Party after a GSOC officer allegedly attended the same party as Jerry the Monk Hutch a week ago on the night he was found not guilty of the Regency Hotel murder. He's since resigned from the Garda watchdog. Labour's written to Justice Minister Simon Harris seeking an independent inquiry. Its Justice spokesperson Aidan O'Riordan says allegations don't reflect well on GSOC.
Now, if you are an investigator with GSOC, you are privy to a lot of information. You're privy to how the Gardaí operate and individual Garda information. So having that crossover between an investigator of GSOC and those who are reputed to be heavily involved in organised crime is not a good look. And what we need to know is exactly what was going on here. We need to know the level of the relationship.
Work has finally commenced on the construction of the new primary care centre in Dunfanaghy. The €2.5 million project has faced numerous delays after planning permission was granted in April 2019. Donegal Deputy Joe McHugh, welcoming the moving forward with the project, says the development will go far in serving the people as the delivery of healthcare changes.
The way healthcare is going, it's about bringing the talk and I suppose the big ideas into practice, and this is bringing healthcare closer to the community in terms of care that can be taken outside the main general hospitals, and this is important. We had the good news of Donegal Town Primary Care Centre being open on Friday. This is about bringing healthcare closer to the community.
And Gardaí have issued an appeal for information relating to the theft of a heritage sign in Doohery. In a statement, the Doohery Development Committee say their future is uncertain following this latest in a string of incidents targeting the work of the group. The sign, worth around €600, is believed to have been taken on Thursday afternoon last. Gardaí are asking anyone who may have any information to contact them at Milford Garda Station. And for weather, the cloud will gradually clear today through the afternoon and evening, with brighter spells developing. Highest temperatures of 8 to 11 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Every week, National Lottery players raise over €4 million for good causes across Ireland.
Cut. You said 4 million every week.
It is €4 million every week.
€4 million?
Uh-huh.
It must be a typo. Can you check
I'm
this?
telling you, every week, over €4 million is raised for good causes.
All right. No need for a Marty meltdown.
I'll ignore that. Every week, National Lottery players raise over €4 million for good causes across Ireland. The National Lottery. Support responsibly. Based on 2022 financials.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning to you. It's a brand new week, Monday the 24th of April. It's just 5.5 minutes past 9 and you're very welcome along to the 9 till noon show. How are you keeping? How was the weekend? What do you want to talk about? The lines are open for you right now. 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApps and texts. You can give us a call to on 07491 25,000 and your emails come into us at comments@highlandradio.com. And if you want to watch the show, go onto our YouTube channel, Highland Radio Ireland, or across our Facebook pages, and you can interact with us there. Plenty coming up on the show, actually. A couple of really interesting interviews, I think. In the not too distant future, in fact, Sean Murphy, the General Manager at Letterkenny University Hospital, will be on the programme to talk to us about what the situation is down at that hospital in terms of mask wearing. You'll know the HSC has lifted the mandate, but it's down to each individual hospital to make up their own minds. So we'll get an update from him in that regard and a few other items as well. That and so much more besides. But let's look at the front of the Derry People Donegal News this morning. While many of us have been enjoying the glorious weather this week, farmers across Donegal have been putting in Trojan work in a bid to play catch-up following the wettest March on record. With downpours continuing into the first weeks of April, the difficult weather conditions have had a massive impact on farmers. Speaking to the Donegal News, John Meehan, a farmer from Cunningham, said because March was so wet, it has caused great hardship for many farmers. Fields were that wet, it was impossible to get slurry spread to boost early grass growth to get cattle and sheep out of sheds. As a result, additional feed, silage and meal had to be purchased at a cost, he said. John, who lambs his ewes from St. Patrick's Day onwards, said this year's wet weather added extra work and extra cost. I was speaking to a couple of farmers at the weekend who were looking for more rain. They said it was very dry at the moment, but I suppose it depends where you are and what kind of farming you were at and when you're ewes lamb. I presume there's loads of variables there. The Donegal News tells us that rain campaigners into the west are celebrating yet another record-breaking year for Derry's railway station, which has registered its highest ever passenger numbers. The station also continues to rise up the leaderboard of the North's busiest stations. Figures secured from TransLink for the 12 months to March 2023 saw a phenomenal 723,000 passengers travel to and from Derry by train across that period. That's really quite impressive, isn't it? This represents an increase of more than 250,000 passengers compared to the previous year, which was itself also a record year and amounts to a 54% year-on-year rise. 734,000 bar the shouting passengers using the train out of Derry or into Derry over the last 12 months. The Irish Independent tells us that plans to waive development levies on new houses could reduce the cost of building an average home by more than €21,000. The government is considering temporarily abolishing the levies to encourage developers to build more affordable homes. It's part of a package of measures aimed at kickstarting construction. The levies are charged by local authorities at different rates per square metre to fund infrastructure, including road, sewage and water. New figures reveal how waiving the fees could reduce the cost of building a 200 square metre home in Dublin by €21,000. It could also knock €9,000 odd off the price of building a 75 square metre apartment. Is this seen as good news in this part of the world? Would that encourage, I wonder, people in Donegal to build a first-time home, or does that make, say, for instance, the likes of the defective concrete block schemes more attractive? I don't know, I'm asking. When you look at it, though, it's a wonder for certain types of builds in this county, considering, or in this country and county, considering that these charges are at the discretion of the council, that they were being charged here at all with everything that's been going on. The Irish Daily Mail, mandatory drug testing of Gardaí should be implemented without delay to maintain confidence in the force, the Fianna Fáil Justice spokesperson has said. In 2015, the Garda the Garda Press Office said a testing policy was at an advanced stage, but legislation on the issue has repeatedly been pushed back. TD Jim O'Callaghan told this newspaper it should now be introduced. It's important that drug testing is introduced to preserve confidence in our Gardaí. We have to ensure Gardaí have the full capacity to be able to do this very tough job. The call comes after a couple of remarkable stories coming from An Garda Síochána. It comes after a female Garda who's in her 30s was arrested on suspicion of possession of cocaine at Dublin Airport on Thursday. A Garda spokesperson said that the misuse of drugs by Gardaí personnel is not tolerated by the force. And then another interesting story coming out of GSOC, which we'll get to at some point. On to the Irish Times now. Some members of the review group set up to examine the future of the Special Criminal Court are in favour of abolishing the non-jury court, creating a potentially embarrassing situation for the government. The independent review group was established by then Minister for Justice Helen McEntee in February 21 to examine the offences against the state legislation, which is the foundation for the court. The group, which is being led by Mr Justice Michael Pert, a former judge of the Court of Appeal, is made up of 6 experts from law and academia. It's understood a minority of the group are of the view that the continued operation of the Special Criminal Court is no longer justified. This is based on the much diminished threat from paramilitaries, including dissident groups, in recent years. There are just 8 subversive prisoners in Portlaoise Prison on maximum security, on which houses paramilitaries convicted in the Special Criminal Court. So do you have a view on it? Is it something that bothers you? Do you believe we should go back to the situation where everyone is judged by a group of their peers, or do you believe that the Special Criminal Court serves its purpose? 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000. Over 500 data protection breaches were recorded by the HSE last year, including patients' files going missing or being sent to the wrong people. This is the Irish Daily Star. A log of the data breaches has been released to this newspaper and other under the Freedom of Information. The files show that a medical document was found outside the grounds of Midlands Regional Hospital in Portlaoise. A HSE employee inappropriately accessed the medical data of another staff member in Galway University Hospital last April. Meanwhile, a staff member inadvertently discussed a patient's health data with another patient at Letterkenny University Hospital last December. In the same hospital last May, this is Letterkenny, a list with personal and medical information of patients was found by a service user. I seem to think we might have had contact around that time of someone who said they found that. If my memory serves me correctly. On to the Sun this morning. Boffins have warned that abandoning meat could have catastrophic consequences for Earth. It's very important, I think, that we hear all different sides of various conversations, this being one of them. Richer countries, including Ireland, see a decline in consumption. A new study reveals the trend could backfire. It said slashing meat consumption would harm nutrient security of some of the most vulnerable people in the world. The research published in the Oxford Uni Journal, Animal Frontiers, said unintended economic, social and environmental consequences when abandoning livestock could prove catastrophic. And the report cast doubt over claims that meat alternatives loved by vegans are better. Teagasc, the Agriculture and Food Development Authority, yesterday welcomed the study. Spokesperson Declan Troy said livestock farming supports the livelihoods of about 1 in 6 people on the planet. It supplies food, nutrition, income and more to hundreds of millions of people and is enduring cultural significance to many. But it's funny, it's quite interesting, and I wouldn't over-amplify it either, but it's tiny. You have to find it in just a short few papers, in a few papers really is what I'm trying to say, but you would imagine that that kind of information would be of great interest to the general public. Finally, the Irish Daily Mirror this morning, comedian Patrick Kilty has emerged as the front runner to become the new host of The Late Late Show. The County Down funny man, as is described in the paper here, is seen as a popular choice to replace Ryan Tubridy, who will depart from the RTE-hosted hot seat after 14 years next month. Bookmakers Paddy Power have now slashed their odds on Kilty, 52, replacing Tubbs after some heavy betting on him over recent days. Kilty is now down to odds of just 2-1 to take over the world's longest-running chat show, having been out as far as 12-1 just a few days ago. He is the favourite. Claire Byrne also remains as one of the favourites to take over that role. And just finally on the front of this paper, I thought I picked it out of another one. It's this remarkable story, something that if it was in a TV show, you might think it's a little far-fetched. Well, some of us might, not everyone. But a GSOC investigator who quit. Now, this is someone who works for the Guard. He's a GSOC investigator. He is allegedly, or they, I'm not sure if it's a man or a woman, were at a party with Jerry the Monk Hutch. He's left GSOC now and is about to leave Ireland. A report will be carried out into the incident, but a source said he's not a member anymore and cannot be ordered to talk. It comes as Del Boy Hutch was snapped in Dublin, despite being a Kinahan target. And they're picturing all of them in all of the papers today. All right, that was a run through what's making some of the headlines on the front of and inside the newspapers today.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra Mountaintop Letterkenny, the 2022 C-Store National Off-Licence of the Year.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Every year, about 2,600 people in Ireland get bowel cancer. Bowel screening helps to reduce your risk of developing it. If you're age 60 to 69, you can register today for a free bowel screen test kit. Once you've done the test at home, return it by free post and we'll test your sample for levels of blood. If you need any more tests, we'll let you know. Register today at hse.ie/bowel screen or free phone 1-800 45 45 55. From the HSE.
An apple a day keeps the doctor away.
Yes, but a Joya apple keeps the sadness away. Crunchy, juicy with a hint of acidity. Get some Joya in your favourite store. Eat Joya, taste the joy. And with the Joya contest, you can win an electric car.
Is the appearance of your staff important to your business? It's the first point of contact for customers when entering your premises. At C&M Embroidery in Letterkenny, they have a huge range of clothing covering all areas of the workplace. It's widely known that customers warm to and trust employees that present themselves well. Have your company name embroidered or printed on all your work uniforms. Contact C&M Embroidery on 07491 28097 and get your staff looking their best.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
The time is 17 minutes past 9. Now, just an update on a story we covered last week. It was concerns over the future for residents of Ardgrania in Stranraer. It was part of a plan called A Time to Move On. Mary T. Sweeney of Aintu was on saying she'd spoken to some family members that were worried about it. Since then, I've heard from others who are waiting to see what is proposed, and some that feel that it might be positive, that they've seen it happen elsewhere and it might well work well for their loved ones. But as I say, the jury is out. We got onto the HSC to see what they had to say in it. It's a long-winded statement. But anyway, in 2011, the time to move on from congregated settings, a strategy for community inclusion report was published and adopted as national HSC policy. The report identified that over 4,000 people with disabilities in Ireland were living in congregated type settings, defined as where 10 or more people reside in a single living unit or are campus-based. It's government and HSE priority to ensure that all residents in existing congregated settings are actively supported to move into the community with person-centred support that will enable them to lead the life of their choice and participate as equal citizens in the local community. Residents will be supported to live in their local communities with no more than 4 people with a disability living together. Community Healthcare for this region, Disability Services, have a communications and engagement strategy in place which sets out how services engage with all relevant people on decongregation. Residents living in congregated settings, their agreed family members or other support persons, as well as staff. Residents living in congregated settings are supported through the decongregation process by the multidisciplinary staff team, family members and other support persons, so that the necessary wraparound supports will be available to support them as they move to community living. Now, the move to new homes in the community for residents of Ardgrania Court will take place over the coming years. Moves will take place when engagement processes and plans are completed for each individual and new homes are procured and ready for occupancy. Homes will meet the residential standards as regulated by the Health Information Quality Authority. Each resident will be at the centre of the decision-making process for their move. Under decongregation, residents will be supported in all decisions, such as where their new home will be, who they will live with, and the type of house they will live in. Disability services in the locality and multidisciplinary staff teams will ensure people moving to their own homes will receive the support they require to live the life of their choice. Staff have availed of specific training programmes as to how best support people moving to and living in the community. So that is the thrust of that statement. The last line reads, the decongregation of Ardgrania Court is at an early stage and engagements will continue ongoing throughout the process. The family engagement sessions held last Tuesday, which were attended by family members of 13 residents, will be followed up with further engagements and communications throughout the decongregation process. Okay, so that's the HSE's view on all of that. Right, okay, now we're joined on the programme by Stephen McGrory, Senior Executive Engineer with Green Waves Projects. Good morning to you, Stephen. Thanks for joining us.
Morning, Greg. Thanks very much for having us.
Right, we're in the consultation process, are we now, as it relates to the Buncrana to Carndonagh Greenway? What is, I mean, what are the basic proposals that you're seeking the public's views on?
Yeah, well, we're just really introducing the project to the public at this stage, Greg. We've set out the study area. It kind of runs from Buncrana to the south to Carndonagh in the north. That's the basis of the route. And it goes way out to the west, or the west through Elise, or to the east through Dunree. And basically, it's a large study area. Within that area, we'll develop a number of routes going forward. But at this stage, we're looking for engagement from the public, anybody who has an interest in the Greenway or the area, the local communities. And we're trying to identify the constraints and the opportunities that exist within the area, which might benefit our Greenway and which our Greenway might benefit the public.
Yeah. So in terms of route, we just have a start and finish at this point, do we? Are there any proposals or...
No. There's a code of practice for developing greenways, and we're very much at the start of that process. What we're introducing is the area and the project. So it's a blank canvas. Really, what we have ruled out is the kind of the high ground, your sleeve snacks, your Melmore gaps, and that kind of stuff, because it really wouldn't suit a greenway. But at this stage, the route's open, and we'll develop within the study area maybe 5 or 6 different groups, and go back to the public for further consultation. Then they can let us know their views on what they would like and where they would like to see it go.
So what does a greenway look like now? I mean, in terms of its width, the surface, is it fenced in? Like what are the guidelines in terms of constructing a greenway in 2023?
Yeah. Well, very much has changed, and has developed over. We've had a lot of changes in the last year or so. But typically, what you expect to see, if it was an urban area, maybe 5 metres wide, or a more rural setting, be 3 metres wide, be high quality surface, segregated from traffic's important. We're looking for something that's safe, sustainable. What the guidelines would be telling us, we're looking for things that are scenic, with lots of things to see and do en route. And, we're tripping over scenery here in Donegal, so we're blessed in that regard. We're looking for something that's sustainable and strategic, so we're looking at links into Northern Ireland and further afield, and links into existing tourist infrastructure. And that's really what we're trying to tease out at this stage.
And I mean, it is a big piece of work because it covers a great deal of distance. And there are great opportunities, don't get me wrong, and it would be hugely popular when concluded, I'm sure. But there's an awful lot of land that has to be gone through, potentially splitting a farmer's land or what have you. That could just be, the first half a kilometre. There are great challenges in getting enough agreement from point A to point B to progress something like this, is there not? I mean, can it actually be achieved?
Yeah, there are challenges involved, but I mean, the code of practice would set out and say that we have to engage voluntarily with landowners. And the thing about it is, it's not like it's a road or anything, so we can go round the boundaries of farms and not affect them too much. And in some ways, that's a better route. If you're out with the kids, they like to scoot along ahead of you and get around the next corner on you. But yeah, so we're not really tied to straight lines and gentle curves. We can have more twisting and winding route. I mean, that as we develop through the process, we'll develop these options. We'll select the preferred route, and within that, we'll fine tune it down into a more detailed design. And at that stage, we'll be engaging one-on-one on landowners and find out what works for them. And look, we'll have project agronomists on board who will be available to the landowners at that stage to discuss how it might affect their lands and advise us how we can minimise the impact on the landowners. The whole ethos of the code of practice now is to reach voluntary agreement with landowners
And is that
drive it through.
There are no provisions for CPOs or anything in this type of a project. It's all done through, voluntary engagement and through agreement.
No, there's also CPO process within it, but that very much runs in the background. And really, it's envisaged it'll tie up things like, there where you would have land plots where there's maybe the title isn't fully resolved or things like that. That'll enable the process of it. But the ethos of the code of practice and what we've been trying to do very much reach things by agreement with landowners and not impose our will upon them.
And in terms of, say, for instance, if I had a bit of land on this route, am I compensated for that? And, say, for instance, I have livestock on one side of the fence and the fence is damaged. Who's responsible for that? I know that it might not seem a big deal, but for others it might. So in other words, are landowners compensated for the use of their land, and are they indemnified to some extent in terms of the maintenance of the fence, or if someone hops over the fence, or what's the story?
Oh, for sure. Like, as part of the process, we'll be tying all these things down with landowners. So, in terms of the purchase of the land and dealing with their livestock and that kind of stuff, we will agree accommodation works. So there may be a fence on our side that keeps keeps the cyclists in and away from their livestock, and there may very well be a fence on the farmer side, which will deal with keeping their livestock within their own fields. In terms of land purchase, the farmers do get compensated, A, for the price of the land, B, for injurious infection, and if they happen to separate a field, there's a payment for that as well. On top of that, and on top of any agreed fees for the landowners, for greenways over 20 kilometres in length, such as this, there's the Greenway Sustainability Payment, which is paid there it's paid in two parts. The first part is paid when the voluntary agreement is paid, or the voluntary agreement is signed, but prior to planning, and the second part then is on the completion of the greenway. All
right. Now, I mean, obviously, some of this is how long's a piece of string, but realistically, how long might it take to deliver a project like this, a Buncrana to Carndonagh Greenway?
Yeah, again, it's to a certain extent, we're at the hands of third parties here. We will be intending to coming back now with the routes, the various routes by the end of the year, and having a further public consultation towards this time next year, the middle of next year. We'll be coming back then with a preferred route corridor and have more meaningful engagement. And within that, then we'll start developing the preliminary design that we'll be bringing forward to planning. As part of that, there may or may not be a need for an environmental impact assessment, but there'll be some form of planning in place. And based on that, then, what the Code of Practice tells us, we must then consult with landowners for a period of a year before we can advertise our planning permission, and then for a further year afterwards. Now, within that period, we'll be developing our detailed design. So within 4 to 5 years, we could be, with a fair wind, and if everything goes well with Mór Planala, we could be looking at starting construction.
All right, well, every journey starts with the first step, and this is, well, it's not really the first step. I know you're already doing quite a bit of work on it, but in terms of the public consultation, it feels the first one. It feels like a significant step forward. There are 2 in-person public consultation events coming up, one in Buncrana, one in Carndonagh. What are the details of those, Stephen?
Yes, we're in Buncrana tomorrow, and then it's Young Gateway Hotel from 2 o'clock to 8 o'clock. And every member of the public's very, very welcome to attend. And likewise, we're in Carndonagh Public Service Centre from 2 o'clock to 8 o'clock on Wednesday. Now, for those people that can't make it to the in-person events, we'll also be putting up public displays for a period of 2 weeks afterwards. The first one in the Buncrana Library, and the second one in Carndonagh Public Service Centre. And we also have a project website which went live on Friday there, which is Buncrana to CarndonagHgreenway.ie. And people can see on there all the information that's going out in the public consultations, and they're invited to make their submissions and their feedback on that website.
OK, thank you for that, Stephen. Take care of yourself. That's Stephen McGrory there, who's Senior Executive Engineer with Greenways Projects. fingers crossed. I feel like I've been talking about greenways for quite some time. It'd be nice to see some delivery of that. It's not the fault of Stephen and his team. It's just sometimes wheels move slowly, don't they? Hi, Greg. In early February, my sister posted a large Jiffy envelope to us here outside Buncrana. She went to her local post office in Kent, which is in England, paid postage, completed customs forms to indicate contents and cost due to Brexit. It was a few birthday cards, anniversary cards, etc. The package never arrived. She did the similar cards of early March, same story, post office, custom forms, etc. This package has yet to be received. She's out of pocket at present for the sum of £12 sterling. Post office blames Ireland. Has any of your listeners got the same problem? We'd be glad of any help that comes in from Mary. So it seems, in this case at least, the simple act of sending a jiffy bag with some cards in it, it hasn't been successful twice. And of course, they're at £12, but also the effort of going to the post office and doing the custom forms and what have you. Any experience of that? Do you know what's going on there? What has gone wrong? 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000. Right, okay, some comments carried over from last week. Hi, Greg, just to say it's great to see the dog warden out checking those unlicensed dogs in our community. Might help promote responsible ownership. Okay, didn't know about that. The Happy Pair twins have apologised for comments made by an American doctor on their podcast which claimed a link exists between taking antibiotics and depression. I was on antibiotics for 8 months and I, for one, listened to it and yesterday thought, thank God, because as someone who didn't have depression, I did find it rising in myself. I don't know. I'm familiar. I haven't really heard any of the Happy Pair podcasts. They're not for everyone. I would imagine. They have a slight problem in that they present themselves as one thing, but if you then take on doctors issuing medical advice, it can be somewhat problematic. I'm not sure what the general medical consensus is as it relates to a link between antibiotics and depression, but I suppose some might say that if you were sick enough to be on antibiotics for 8 months, that maybe it could be the underlying issue that was a problem. I don't know. As I say, I generally think you have to be careful when just taking on a podcast like that there. But that being said, I don't see any problem with them, but they seem to get an awful lot of abuse online and a lot of people reveling in the fact that they got something wrong, or they claim they got something wrong, which I don't see. I don't get no pleasure in that either. Okay, we're going to be joined by Sean Murphy from Letterkenny University Hospital very shortly.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Charge into summer with TUI. Secure your holiday today with savings for families and adults flying from Dublin, Cork and Shannon. Holiday sorted. TUI. Live happy.
April is a time for wellness, so why not treat yourself at the award-winning V-Spa set within the confines of the 4-star Villa Rose Hotel Ballybuffet. As a sanctuary of relaxation, the V-Spa specialises in advanced skincare and facials together with chemical peels and microneedling. This April, the V-Spa have created a collection of spa packages that will leave you feeling refreshed and rejuvenated. View the spring spa packages and overnight escapes online today on villarose.ie.
In the next 15 seconds, you're going to find out where is the best place in the Northwest to buy a bed or mattress. It's Restex Beds and Furniture Mountaintop, Letterkenny, where comfort meets style.
Are you looking for a way to invest for your long-term goals but think you can't afford to? John F. Lowery Financial Services can help. Did you know that you can invest in stock markets and other growth assets with as little as €100 per month? There are many great benefits to saving apart from the obvious. It makes you feel good, reduces worry, prepares you for emergencies, teaches self-discipline and gives you choice. These benefits all make for a healthier, more stress-free environment. So why wait? Start your investment journey today by visiting jfl.ie. John F. Lowery and Associates Limited, trading as John F. Lowery Financial Services, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Investments can go down as well as up. Past performance is not a reliable guide to future performance.
Sean Murphy is the General Manager of Letterkenny University Hospital. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Greg. How you doing?
Good. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so just as it relates to mask wearing in the hospital, what came out from the HSE last week, and what impact is it going to have on Letterkenny University Hospital in terms of what it chooses to do?
Okay, so I suppose in summary, what came out from the HSE was guidance that surgical or respirator masks were no longer required to be mandatory in all healthcare settings. But they also highlighted the fact that risk assessments should be undertaken in individual hospitals or in individual healthcare settings to reflect the prevalence of COVID and the risks associated with COVID transmission, and also that hospitals should undertake. I keep saying hospitals, Greg, but it's really all healthcare settings should undertake. Risk assessments and be cognizant of the use of masks with appropriate patients, mainly those with severe viral tract infections or respiratory tract infections.
So what is going to change at Letterkenny University Hospital going forward then? Because I imagine your staff, if your staff would have worn masks long before COVID when appropriate in any case.
They absolutely would have. You're right. So our infection control guidance highlights a number of areas where masks are required to be worn. Obviously, with COVID, and you may recall, we were one of the first hospitals that in the country that actually said to staff, for all patient interactions, wear a mask, because at that stage we had lots of undiagnosed COVID, and then it became mandatory in all healthcare settings. What changed as of Wednesday is we've taken the decision now that masks are not required to be worn in non-clinical areas. So the corridors, meeting rooms, the foyer, etc., we are not requiring either members of the public nor staff to wear masks. However, we are also conscious some individuals may choose to wear masks. They may feel it more appropriate. They may feel more safer wearing the masks. We will make the masks available for those who choose to wear the masks, but it's not required. Mm-hmm. With regard to clinical areas, we are continuing to do our risk assessments, and again, I see that situation will change over the coming weeks, if not days. Some of the low-risk clinical areas, I think we will remove the need to wear masks, but there will be some areas where, again, and as you said, there will always certain areas in certain circumstances where masks were worn, be they surgical masks or respirator masks, and that will continue.
Okay, what is the feedback from the... Sorry, go ahead, Sean. Sorry. Finish your point.
Yeah. I was going to say, what we're trying to do with the clinical areas is make sure that people aren't confused when they come into the hospital. It's quite clear if it's a non-clinical area, you don't have to wear a mask. But we need to be absolutely clear with members of the public and our own staff that when which areas you are required to wear a mask entering and which you're not.
Okay, so if we're all being very open and frank, then I might as well ask a question that I'm not sure of the answer to. So maybe other people out there, what is the difference between clinical and non-clinical then? I mean, how do you define that in layman's terms? Where admitted patients or patients are undergoing assessments or treatments or have been admitted and are resident in. So the clinical areas where we are continuing to wear masks at this point are the emergency department, the outpatients department, the wards, etc. Whereas the general areas like the foyer, the corridors, etc., we're not requiring masks. Right, so, I mean, obviously, I think the majority of the public are kind of over it, if you know what I mean, whether that's right or wrong, but I think that seems to be the case. So some of the strongest commentary I'm hearing at the moment is coming from unions. Some unions feel that this is a little bit premature. What is the feeling amongst staff that you've polled in the hospital? Are they opposed to this? Are they in favour of it?
Well, I suppose I haven't polled the staff, so I couldn't say anything based on any sort of pseudo statistical basis. What I can tell you is, from general discussions and observing, as I said, quite a number of staff have chosen to continue wearing masks in the public areas or in the non-clinical areas. And I also know many staff were happy to be able to not have to wear the masks in those areas. So it is quite mixed. And I suppose what always strikes me, if you go, when we come out of work and you go into the shops, there's still a mixture of those that choose to wear masks and those that don't because they're no longer required to.
Yeah, well, I suppose at the end of the day, the hospital staff are of the community, and they're going to be representative of that in different points of views and different attitudes, aren't they? I mean, they're not different.
No, you're absolutely right, Greg. One thing I would say, however, and I think it's important, is that people are particularly conscious of not visiting the hospital, particularly visiting. Obviously, if you need healthcare attention, you need to come to the hospital. But people coming in to visit, if you've got respiratory symptoms, if you're unwell, please do not come to the hospital because, we would have said this before when you and I would have spoken before COVID when there were influenza seasons, etc. It's just good common practice. If you are at risk of having a transmissible or a viral infection, coming to the hospital puts the staff and other patients at risk, and particularly patients where their immune systems are already weakened, they're already vulnerable. If you are coming from clinical or medical attention, obviously that is more important than the fact that you may have a viral infection. But in that case, again, wear a mask and make it known to staff that you are symptomatic, so that we can take appropriate precautions.
All right. Just while I have you,
good infection.
Yeah, as you say, we would have had that conversation long before anyone ever heard of the COVID pandemic.
I think. I was going to say, I think what changed with COVID is suddenly people started to take much more serious, and we don't want to lose the fact that viral infections can be very problematic and make people very ill, particularly those that are most vulnerable.
Reports today of 500 data breaches recorded by the HSE, 2 at your hospital. One, a staff member inadvertently discussed a patient's health data with another patient at the hospital, and another, a list with personal and medical information of patients was found by a service user. Your reaction to that, Sean?
Obviously, very disappointing. I apologise to all patients that were affected. We worked very hard to highlight the importance of confidentiality and the importance of keeping documentation that identifies patients absolutely secure. It starts with staff on induction and is reiterated through departmental meetings and our quality meetings, etc. In terms of the first example, I'm not making excuses, but it is difficult. Sometimes where you have patients of the same name and surname, and you'd be surprised it happens quite frequently, and living in the same townland, and occasionally even in the same street. So again, we do have a system in place to alert staff that if there's 2 patients with the same name or very similar names on a ward, to highlight the staff so that they check with, because each patient has a unique patient number, they should check that they are speaking with the right patient. Similarly, we've taken a number of measures over the last number of years, including putting shredding bins that are locked and with a letterbox type from lists and patient lists as they're going around and undertaking treatments and organising tests. But for those documents to be put in those bins to be shredded so that they're not left lying around. I think in the case that you're talking about was found in the hospital in a patient room. It may well have fallen out of somebody's pocket and they didn't notice. I'm not saying that's acceptable, but as I say, we will continue to try and take every measure that we can to ensure the security of patient information.
All right, just a couple of quick ones. Just as it relates to the emergency department now, are attendees separated now based on COVID-like symptoms or not? Going forward,
we are still separating, and that's why I said if you are coming into the hospital and need of medical attention, please wear a mask and alert the staff. So what we want to do is ensure that we minimise the risk of spreading any infection, but particularly COVID we're talking about today.
A couple of callers asking, is there a problem with sepsis in the hospital at the moment, an unusual amount of cases?
I suppose there's always issues in terms of sepsis. I'm not aware of any particular unusual amount, but we have seen increases in numbers of cases of sepsis, and I think that's something that is not unique to Letterkenny. It's across all hospitals, and unfortunately, I think we're going to see it becoming more and more problematic because so many infections are becoming antimicrobial resistant. Again, there's a lot of education with our clinical staff in the hospital, but across the whole healthcare system about appropriate use of antibiotics, because unfortunately, life is wonderfully resilient, and organisms and infections can actually adapt and develop significant antibiotic resistance, and that increases the risk of sepsis because the patients are not responding to the antibiotic treatments that should control those infections.
All right, and finally, in the minute that we have, how is recruitment going at the hospital? I had a very brief look at a report which I think suggested that in Galway there are issues with recruitment because of a lack of available accommodation. How is recruitment going for the vacant posts at Letterkenny University Hospital, and is the housing crisis impacting on that process?
Recruitment is going very well generally, and I might just come back to elaborate on that in a moment. The housing crisis it's not something that has featured significantly in terms of my experience for recruitment. I think it's still possible to get accommodation in Letterkenny. It becomes more problematic, and where we have seen it is where people are coming to take fixed term posts maybe for 6 or 12 months because they're covering somebody's leave or absence. And again, the pressure on rental accommodation particularly in the Letterkenny area is quite significant, and we've seen that as being a challenge. As I say, one of the strengths of Letterkenny, we've do very well in terms of recruiting people with from Donegal or Donegal connections that may have gone abroad, and often they have family connections, so maybe the accommodation is less of an issue than you would have if you were in Dublin, etc. But even for other staff that don't have Donegal connections, we've been able to find accommodation, or we've been able to support them in finding accommodation. But when I say recruitment is going well, there are particular areas of challenge because, and we would have talked about this before, there is a very wide variety of types of staff, health and social care professionals, so your therapists, your nursing staff, and even nursing, theatre nurses versus general nurse and general ward nurses, staff with critical care experience, etc., and medical staff. So we have a number of specialties where we still struggle because it's an international issue, that there are limited numbers of people in areas such as radiology, in Ireland, geriatric medicine. So there are particular hotspots that we are constantly challenged in recruiting to.
Okay, listen, thanks for all of your time this morning. I appreciate it. That's Sean Murphy there, the General Manager of Letterkenny University Hospital.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
I've lost my car keys. Lost my car once in a multi-story. Lost my patience. My hair? Lost that a while back. But this week, I found things I thought had gone forever. The crackle of needle on vinyl. Leaves crunching. I found them all at Specsavers. I got free hearing aids with PRSI. And now those sounds are back. So's my joie de vivre. Still can't find those keys, though.
Book a free hearing test today. Terms and conditions apply. See our website for details.
House to Home Bridgend, Donegal. Our modest front door opens onto 2 floors of Irish-made furniture, suites, beds, mattresses, dining and occasional furniture. Step into our showroom and see how we can transform your house into a home. House to Home furniture, flooring, slide ropes and interiors, Bridgend, Donegal.
The Reverend Jim Lamont presents an evening of music and song in Angrillan Theatre, Letterkenny on Friday 9th of June at 8 p.m. with UP and Maria Doherty, Diane and Iona Holt, Diane Leckie, Andrea Long, Amy Meehan and the Regent Quartet. Tickets €15 on sale now from the theatre box office. Proceeds in aid of the Donegal Hospice. An evening of music, stories and a Donegal farewell at Angrillan Theatre, Letterkenny on Friday 9th of June.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Lanzarote is back. Check out our new weekly flights to Lanzarote with Ryanair. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
Okay, cloud will generally gradually clear through the afternoon and evening with brighter spells developing, temperatures of 8 to 11 degrees. Brendan O'Connor is president of the Garda Representative Association, joins us now. Good morning to you, Brendan. Thanks for your time.
Good morning, Greg.
It's good to have you with us. Firstly, what is your reaction to this news that a senior member of a GSOC, a senior investigator, has had to resign following allegations that he told colleagues, remarkably, that he attended a party with Gerard Hutch? There's talk now that this member might leave the country. What's your reaction to that news?
Well, Greg, I would just clarify that I won't be drawing in comments on the individual circumstances of what has occurred, but it certainly it brings the conversation back to where the GRA have always had, and there's a serious question marks about GSOC and about how it's more about the oversight mechanisms. And unfortunately in Donegal here, it resonates with us. We had the tragic death of our colleague Sergeant Michael Gavin, and there was serious questions then. And what happened then was, again, it's completely different circumstances, but there was questions about the conduct of GSOC and there was no proper oversight mechanism, and it took ministerial intervention to set up an inquiry. So that's why we see this service, GSOC, we absolutely embrace independent oversight and investigation of our members, but with that responsibility comes an obligation to be as transparent as the people you're investigating, and it's simply not there for GSOC. So yet again, we see another issue arising with GSOC, and everyone is looking to say, what should we do? How will we deal with this? And that's just not acceptable, especially with a body there's currently legislation before the Oireachtas that's going to give GSOC even more power. So we have that checks and balances.
What would you like to see then? How do we perhaps, I'm not conflate the two issues, but we've got this story focusing on GSOC at the moment, and we've spoken in the past as it relates to rank and file concerns. So whilst we're in a review process, what needs to change then?
Well, we need just a clear protocol, for want of a complaints process, because a lot of time our members, sometimes they have issues with how GSOC conduct themselves, and there's we would see no transparency and accountability. So I won't give a prescriptive description of exactly what we want, but we want a protocol in place that's transparent, that's open, that everybody knows what levels of accountability apply, because with power and with responsibility comes accountability. Those are very basic principles of any criminal aspect of the criminal justice system. We see them for our members, but it comes back to who watches the watchers. I know it's a bit of a cliche, but that is the issue. Do I have the prescriptive description of exactly what's needed? No. But again, GSOC hold our members to a very high standard, and rightly so. So they should be held to equally high standards, and we don't know how to have confidence in the system whenever there is no protocols in place.
All right. Despite some suggestions from some high-profile people, being a member of the Gardaí is a dangerous activity with a large number of assaults, varying in severity, of course. Is it still the GRA's position that the use of tasers or having access to tasers, carrying tasers, would help to perhaps see off some of these rising assault figures on members?
Yeah, absolutely, Greg. And, we look at Donegal there and we see members working in locations on their own, and we rely on they're very vulnerable, they're isolated, there's very little backup. So tasers, if we look to Scotland as we're a comparable jurisdiction, and officers operating in the Highlands carry tasers. So we're looking for more tasers. Not every guard have a taser, but if a guard in a showing needs someone to come to their assistance out in Malin, that someone in Buncrana would have it. Similarly, someone out in Lifford could call on someone in Letterkenny. So just more tasers. We believe it's an incremental response to the levels of violence our members are being subjected to in these assaults. So it's used in other jurisdictions without any major concerns, and we believe it's entirely appropriate that we would have that escalation available to non-lethal force. Normally, now we have a step from baton and handcuffs to firearm and nothing in between. So we need to have more availability, and it's in the interest of offenders too. People can be neutralised before they even harm themselves. Sometimes people who have suicidal ideations, the taser can disable them, and the guards can get close to someone with a knife when they wouldn't be able to intervene.
Where's the resistance coming from? We've been talking about this for quite some time. It still hasn't happened yet. Where's the resistance coming from?
Well, look, we would be always very kind of cynical. We'd expect its costs. Maybe there is ethical issues. That it's a step towards arming the Gardaí. We have a very proud tradition of being an unarmed service. People would see the more use of force, the more access to weapons to Gardaí, that it compromises our relationship with the public. Maybe it would make ours a little bit more intimidating. We wouldn't agree with that, but maybe that's the issue. But certainly there is a huge cost implication and a training implication. And also we don't have the really go hand in hand with body cams in other jurisdictions, because again, that transparency that we embrace, you have to have a body cam so the public and the people who are subject to kind of confidence that the decision making used by the officer was correct. So it's we're just 30 years behind most jurisdictions in relation to our equipment and our training, and we would see that as probably an impediment.
Now, a lot of guards are leaving the force. Obviously, some will retire. Others are resigning, just taking up different careers. I think the Garda Commissioners of the opinion that when you compare us to other countries, which we often do, we've been doing it in this conversation, that the attrition rate's relatively low. Do you share his views in that, or would you be making a counterpoint to that?
No, we don't share the Garda Commissioner's view. I mean, what is happening now is a phenomenon. It may be reflected in our jurisdictions, but Garda Síochána was always a career for life. People are very, I wouldn't say happy. I think everyone finds their own workplace challenging, but we had conditions and a status and a job satisfaction that made people stay for life, and a lot of people exceeded their 30-year service. But all the indicators are that people are not happy. They're choosing to leave, whether through retirement or resignation, and we think that's indicative of a very low morale and a level of discontent among the force. And we believe there is a disconnect. And I think we believe that it's nearly a denial of Garda management, because they're not even acknowledging or addressing the issue. The GRA have taken the issue. We're having our exit interviews. We're doing the research that Garda management have been shamed into doing to copy us. So we certainly believe there's a piece of work there for Garda management to address the issue.
All right, thanks for your time this morning. I do appreciate it. Take care of yourself. That is Garda Brendan O'Connor, President of the Garda Representative Association. Their 45th annual delegation conference takes place in Mayo, I believe, this week. So you get an idea of some of the topics that will be up for discussion there. We'll be back with much more in the 9 till noon show after we take a break for the news and obituary notices.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Charge into summer with TUI. Choose from a beach cruise or city break or Mexico flying direct from Dublin. Holiday sorted. TUI, live happy.
Attention all jewellery lovers. This is an announcement you don't want to miss. The permanent jewellery pop-up is coming to Armacolla Jewellers on Saturday, 6th of May. Don't miss your chance to find the perfect piece to mark a special bond. Book your appointment now to avoid disappointment, whether it's for a loved one or for yourself. Permanent jewellery has something for everyone. See you there.
Tune in this Tuesday to the Community Garda information slot, on air after 10 a.m. on the 9 till noon show in association with Sheridan Security Systems. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91-26025.
With the brighter days, it's only natural to think about freshening up the paintwork in our homes, bringing colour and vibrancy to our living spaces. But the important thing isn't just the colours we choose, it's the paint. Fleetwood use the highest quality ingredients for a richer colour and smoother finish that lets you wipe away the marks of everyday life. And it's Irish made, designed to work with the ever-changing Irish light. Would one range of paints transform your home? Fleetwood would. Naturally.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, I'm Michaela Clark with the news at 10 o'clock. A post-mortem examination is to be carried out on a body found in Bundoran yesterday. The body was found in the Rogie Cliffwalk area yesterday morning. It's since been removed from the scene and Gardaí say foul play is not suspected. The General Manager of Letterkenny University Hospital has apologised to all patients affected by a number of data breaches at the hospital. 2 incidents at Letterkenny University Hospital are among over 500 data protection breaches recorded by the HSC last year. It's reported that a worker inadvertently discussed a patient's health data with another patient at the hospital in December, while last May a list with personal and medical information of a patient was found. Speaking on today's 9 till noon show, Sean Murphy says the hospital is committed to mitigating against data breaches.
The case that you're talking about was found in the hospital in a patient room. It may well have fallen out of somebody's pocket and they didn't notice. I'm not saying that's acceptable, but as I say, we will continue to try and take every measure that we can to ensure the security of patient information.
The Garda Representative Association says serious questions need to be answered following the GSOC controversy. An officer has resigned after he said he attended the same party as Jerry the Monk Hutch after he was acquitted of the Regency Hotel murder. There are calls for an independent inquiry. Donegal-based Garda Brendan O'Connor, who is GRA President, says questions have to be answered.
We have established the fact and we won't be commenting on the actual individual circumstances, but certainly the concept and the scenario that's being suggested raises serious questions for our members and for the public. And, you know, this specific circumstances, this incident raise issues, but these are conceptual issues we have asked for quite a while in relation to GSOC.
The Taoiseach Minister for Foreign Affairs has confirmed around 50 Irish citizens have been evacuated from Sudan to date. However, Micheál Martin says it will take a number of days before all 150 Irish people who want to leave the country can be assisted. 12 Defence Forces personnel have been sent to the region. Some left last night, with others due to depart today. It follows the 10th day of fighting in the country, which has resulted in over 430 deaths. The Taoiseach says they're continuing to keep in contact with citizens in Khartoum.
Up to 50 Irish citizens were evacuated since yesterday from Khartoum to Djibouti with the support of France and Spain, and this is part of a wider coordinated evacuation of European Union citizens. We will continue to maintain contact with our citizens in Khartoum, and we would urge citizens to follow the Embassy of Ireland in Kenya on Twitter.
The government is being urged to immediately provide support for homeowners hit by crippling mortgage interest increases. A Sinn Féin motion is to be debated in the Dáil tomorrow, which calls for a time-limited mortgage interest relief of up to €1,500 to be introduced. Some mortgage holders have already experienced numerous mortgage hikes. The party's finance spokesperson, Donegal Deputy Pearse Doherty, says many families are already struggling to make ends meet.
An increase on your mortgage, for that family, it doesn't matter whether it's an increase in food or an increase in electricity or heat. It's an additional bill that's coming into your home, and if that bill is €5,000 more than it was this time last year, then families are struggling to find a way to pay that bill, and that's why some of this shock, we can't insulate everything, we can't pay all the €5,000, but what we do need to do is provide some comfort and some relief.
Work has finally commenced on the construction of the new primary care centre in Dunfanaghy. The €2.5 million project has faced numerous delays after planning permission was granted in April 2019. Donegal Deputy Joe McHugh, in welcoming the moving forward with the project, says the development will go far in serving the people as the delivery of healthcare changes.
The way healthcare is going, it's about
bringing the talk and I suppose the big ideas into practice, and this is bringing healthcare closer to the community in terms of care that can be taken outside the main general hospitals, and this is important. We had the good news of Donegal Town Primary Care Centre being open on Friday. This is about bringing healthcare closer to the community.
Weather now, Clyde will gradually clear today through the afternoon and evening, with brighter spells developing. Highest temperatures of 8 to 11 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with an update again at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning. The obituary notice says for this Monday morning, April the 24th. The death has taken place of Jackie Boner, formerly of Carnhill and Thorndale. Funeral leaving his brother Seamus's home, 39 Barnes Court, Culmore Road, at 10:20 tomorrow morning to St Bridget's Church, Carnhill, for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the city cemetery. House private from 10 o'clock tonight. The death has taken place of Joe Herity, Coshia, Ballyhern, Fanad. Joe's remains are reposing at his late home. Removal from there tomorrow, going to St Mary's Church, Fanavolti, for Requiem Mass at 12 o'clock, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. Rosary at 8 o'clock, family time please from 10 o'clock tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. The death has taken place of Peggy McGinley, née Gallagher, Kilrain, Clohan. She is reposing at her home today, with Rosary tonight at 8 o'clock. Requiem Mass at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon in the Church of Our Lady of Perpetual Succour, Glenfin, with burial afterwards in Kilty Vogue Cemetery. The funeral mass can be viewed on mcmmedia.tv. The death has occurred of Josephine Clark, Moneen, Ballindrate, Lifford, County Donegal. Josephine is reposing at her late residence today from 11 o'clock until 10 o'clock. Funeral from her late residence tomorrow morning at 11:20, going to St Patrick's Church, Murlock, for 12 o'clock Requiem Mass, with burial afterwards in St Columbus Church Cemetery, Dromahul. Requiem Mass can be viewed on the parish webcam. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu of desired to Medical 3, Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member or Kelly's funeral directors. The death has taken place of Mary McGee, Tommy Meanmore Dunlow. Mary's remains are reposing at her own home, with Rosary at 9 o'clock. Funeral Mass tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock in St Cronus Church, Dunlow, with interment afterwards in the local cemetery. House private on the morning of the funeral, please. Family flowers only. Donations in lieu of desire to Dunlow Hospital Patients Comfort Fund, care of any family member. The death has taken place of James McHugh, Collion Road, Letterkenny, and formerly of Killygordon. James's remains will repose at his late residence from 12 noon until 10 o'clock today, with Rosary at 9 o'clock. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:15, going to the Church of the Irish Martyrs for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, which can be viewed on the parish YouTube channel. Interment afterwards to St Columbus Church Cemetery, Dromahul. House private on the morning of the funeral, please. Family flowers only. Donations in lieu of flowers if desired to Haematology and Oncology, Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Johnny Sweeney, 12 Muckish Terrace, Creeslaw. No wake at Johnny's request. Funeral Mass at 12 noon today, followed by burial in Doe Graveyard. Mass can be viewed on mcmmedia.tv. The death has taken place of Nora Sweeney, Maharagallan Gidor. Funeral Mass in St Mary's Church, Derrybeg, this morning at 11 o'clock, with interment afterwards in Maharagallan Cemetery. The funeral mass can be viewed live on Kieran Rorty, Funeral Director's Facebook page. The death has occurred of Anne Maloney, née McKemmy, Carrick, Ballyhern, Fanad, Donegal, Fianville View, Leeds, UK. A service will be held in the Church of Christ the Redeemer, Rossnakill, this afternoon at 2 o'clock, with burial afterwards in the adjoining graveyard. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu of desire to the Stroke Association UK, care of any family member. The service will be streamed live on the McAteer Funeral Director's Facebook page. And the death has taken place of Mary McBride, Torah, Loch Salt Road, Glen. Her remains are reposing at her late residence. Funeral from there this morning, going to the Church of St John the Baptist for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Family time before the funeral. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
On Post MoneyMate is a current account that gives kids the power. So what money power do they want? The power to get paid for their chores? Come on, nearly there, Connor.
Oh, it's so unfair.
Relax, your mom's paying you with jobs on the app. Or to be a super saver with savings jars.
Hold on, can I have the power to keep an eye on all of this?
You can, with the current account for kids that's just €2 per month, plus your first 3 months free. Search On Post MoneyMate or get the On Post Money app. T's and C's apply. See onpostmoney.com/moneymate. Available for children aged 7 to 15 and a half years. Transaction fees apply. After 3 months, a monthly fee applies. On Post is authorised by the Minister for Finance to provide payment services and is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland in the provision of such services.
Okay, welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Excuse me, good morning if you are just joining us. Hope you are well this Monday morning. Right, a couple of things. We found a camera on the side of the road in Gorta Hawk. It's in a case. We have a telephone number here if you wish to reclaim it. So a phone found on the side of the road in Gorta Hawk. Sorry, I beg your pardon, a camera. So it's actually going to be even easier to identify. So were you out and about in Gorta Hawk? Did you lose a camera? It's still in its case and a good citizen has found it and wants to get it back to you. Also, there's another thing that I've lost it here. Another post I had that I wanted to mention. I'll get to that. It's about a missing dog. Stay with me because I do want to mention that as well. I know that owners of the dog are very keen to get it back. Great to see Kilmacrennan parochial house is to be demolished, thank God. The house is nothing but a grim reminder of the deeds of Eugene Green and clerical cover-ups. Perhaps the current priest would consider a memorial garden to victims of clerical abuse instead of a proposed car park. Why can't greenways use minor roads instead of digging new routes? Well, those minor roads are for local traffic, I presume. I can't imagine how they could be transferred unless you did it adjacent to it, but then you would be going into someone's land and it's the same thing. So I don't know how you could... You'd have to repurpose the minor roads and you couldn't have a situation, it would be against the whole notion of it, where cars, tractors, bikes, pedestrians and buggies were all in the same space. Speaking of cycling... a cycle is going to take place on Sunday, the 7th of May from Ahiarn Centre. It's a race starting at 10 a.m. sharp, registration from 9 a.m. It's 35 miles, 56 kilometres. All monies raised will go towards local charities and refreshments will be served before and after the cycle. We have a contact number for Kieran here if you want more details on that, spot prices on the day. Now... We've been contacted by a number of people. I've been contacted at the weekend or during the week. We get some calls to the station, but often it's me being contacted directly by a number of people concerned about instances in the Inishowen area. People feel they're being followed, attempted home break-ins, wolf whistling, calling, shouting. Those types of things. I haven't received dozens of them, but I've received 2 or 3 of concern. So obviously, as much as I can, wanted to listen to people and try and find out what's going on and see if there's something that needs further investigation. But through our contacts, we understand that many of these instances have actually been followed up on and are not as what social media posts might claim them to be. Obviously, there's a lot of fear out there, right? And people's makes maybe judgments off or not. I'm not saying they all are, by the way. I'm only saying officially what we have here. So we contacted the Gardaí. Excuse me, please. And Gardaí are very, very keen to emphasise that if the public have any concerns about approaches, being followed, attempted break-ins in the Inishowen area or anywhere at all, that they should contact any Garda station, and they assure us that each case will be followed up on. And they've got access to lots of things like CCTV and what have you, which would help in any investigation. So I'm not in any way trying to poo-poo people's concerns or to say it's not happening or whatever. I'm just getting you the official line from An Garda Síochána. A call believes greenways are greenwash for land grab and wildlife barriers. They're not in favour of them, it seems. Morning, Greg. I've seen an increase in a number of these signs in cafes and restaurants lately. Hi folks, just a few lines to let you know that from next week on, some but not all of the items on the menu will be going up in price. We've tried to put this off as long as we could, and thank you for your understanding and hopefully continued support. So a lot of places will hold their prices for as long as they can, but apparently this listener is seeing more and more cafes and restaurants putting up their prices. I've noticed it myself. I'm very close to the point whereby going out for something to eat truly is a sort of a rare luxury, if you know what I mean. But of course, we do understand that there are increased input costs, electricity just being one of them. Help needed, Greg. I'm looking for your listeners' help. I'm working on a movie and need a lollipop lady outfit, ideally a jacket and a hat for next Monday, just for the day. Okay, so it's a random one, but we get those too. Anyone out there have a jacket and a hat for a film shoot in the style of a lollipop? Do lollipop ladies have, and men now, of course, you don't really say lollipop ladies anymore, but do they have specific outfits still? Is it not just like a high-vis jacket and a cap? Anyway, you know the look they're probably going for, and maybe you have it. Right, okay. Hi, Greg. Went to see my doctor 2 weeks past on Friday. He's sending me up for an x-ray at the hub. I rang the doctor yesterday. They said ring the hospital, and they'd passed me to talk to someone at the hub. Got speaking to a lovely lady. Said with waiting list it would be another 2 weeks as far as I can make out. The hospital is not doing x-rays. They're sending people over to the hub. I thought the hub was for overflow and not to be taken from the hospital ones too. Thanks, Greg. That comes in from Primrose. Primrose, hopefully you get the x-ray soon. I'm not really sure of how that all works. We did do an interview on it, and it is incredibly busy there. I can't remember off the top of my head the exact way it works in terms of overflow or not, but that's your experience, Primrose, and that's the facts at this point. Greg, why is it that if you hold a medical card you can attend the ED without attending a GP or Now Doc First if you attend the ED without holding a medical card, so a private public patient, you'll be charged €100? I feel that anyone who does not hold a medical card is being discriminated against, especially if you need to attend ED because of a broken bone, which a GP would not be able to deal with. Yes, indeed, I know people who go to the GPs or Now Doc just to get a letter to go to the ED. It is the way it is. That is presumably one of the inpatient charges, is it, that will be done away with? I must double check that, actually. Caroline, do you know off the top of your head? You don't? It is? We don't know. We'll check that because, of course, the government's saying that they've signed now, signed into law, is it, or into legislation or whatever it might be, to get rid of most inpatient charges. So we'll double check if that €100, or it's cheaper, I think, with the letter, if that will still apply going forward. All right, 086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text number, 086 60 25,000. Or, of course, you can give us a call on 074 91 25,000, 074 91 25,000. And your emails coming into us, comments at highlandradio.com. It is the 9 till noon show. We'll be back with more after I mentioned, by the way, a collie dog which went missing on the Glenveigh Road at around 10:30 a.m. yesterday morning. It's a black and white collie dog, very friendly looking thing. Actually, I'll throw a picture up here for those of you that might be watching on our stream. That's the dog that's missing there. And the owner's very keen to get it back. So it's a collie dog missing on the Glenveigh Road at around 10:30 yesterday morning. If anyone has seen the dog, please make contact with us and we'll put you in contact with the owner. So as you can imagine, owner's very, very keen to get that dog returned. It's black and white. It's got 2 white dots over its eyes, which might make it a little bit more distinctive, and a white tip to its tail, and its face is kind of browny looking, you know, the way dogs are. So don't go by that, but it's got 2 white spots above its eyes, a white tip to its tail. It went missing from the that area, the Glen area, yesterday morning. Right, okay, we'll take that break now.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Monday the 24th of April. You're playing on the green sheet. The reference number is S1. It's game number 17. The numbers are 37, 40, 35, 61, 38, 59, 25, 45, 67, and finally 26. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Make great photos into beautiful gifts at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Different gift ideas include canvas prints, freestanding or ready-to-hang art blocks, and personalised photo books, perfect to mark any occasion. There's also jigsaws, calendars, mugs, and much more. For details, visit mcgees.ie. Turn your favourite moments into something truly special with McGee's Chemist Letterkenny.
Century Complex is the perfect family day out. Kids will love exploring Century Play. Lots of tasty food options available at Backstage and Baitas, and Century Cinemas are showing exciting kids movies, comedies, dramas, action movies and more. Call us on 074 91 21976 or visit centurycinemas.ie for more information.
At Hickey, Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers, they compare quotes from all the leading insurers, so you get a great price. Home, motor and van, farm, holiday home, travel and liability insurance, they quote them all. So if the worst happens, you're covered. For a competitive insurance quote today, call Hickey, Clark and Langan on 9126688 or pop into their office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey, Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey, Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from 40,000 to 600,000 euro with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
And you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. We welcome into studio now Tumi Haoni, who is in a film based on her experience in direct provision. It's going to be screened at a free event in Letterkenny this evening. We'll tell you a little bit more about that after we say good morning to you, Tumi. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you, and good morning to the viewers.
Yes. Now tell me, Tumi, how long have you been in Ireland now?
I've been in Ireland for 4 years now.
Okay.
Yes.
And why did you come to Ireland?
I came to Ireland based on the political issues that I was going through in my country in South Africa. So I had to flee to Ireland, which I felt it has to be a safe place for me to come and stay.
How difficult a decision is that, to leave your then home?
Well, it is very difficult to leave your own home because we have families back home, we have life that we had, and then to leave everything behind and just start afresh, it's not easy. But for the sake of myself and my kids' safety, I had to come to Ireland.
And how many of you in the family moved here?
I have 4 kids, and then they all moved to Ireland with me.
Young children, I presume?
Yes, I moved in with 2 children, and then the other one followed last year sometime, and then I gave birth in Ireland. And I have a 2-year-old as well.
Congratulations. Okay.
Thank you.
And what was your experience like on arrival in Ireland?
Well, my experience arriving in Ireland was not as easy. And it was kind of difficult because I wasn't sure of what's going on. And living in direct provision, it's something that I never thought it's happening until I had to live in direct provision, and it was kind of challenging.
All right, what is direct provision then? Where do you live? I know you've moved around somewhat, so shall we talk about your experience now in Letterkenny, perhaps? So what does living in direct provision mean? What facilities do you have? What are you allowed to work, or what do you get from the state, or what is your situation?
Well, as time goes by, the rules are changing bit by bit. Before direct provision, people were not allowed to work at all. And then now it changed that when on my times, we started working at around after 9 months being in Ireland, we were allowed to work. And then now they have changed it to 6 months, which is getting better and better. And living in direct provision is one of those things where there's different kind of things. There's different kind of direct provisions. What I might have in my direct provision, other people might not have that privilege to have it.
Yes, of course, and because of the accommodation crisis, things are worsening for an awful lot of people. So in a way, maybe you were lucky in the time that you arrived that there was some accommodation.
True.
And is it of a good standard, do you believe?
Yes.
And you're happy in that regard?
Well, I am happy in that regard because at least now it's better than when I arrived in Ireland. It was a big hectic then.
Now, I've spoken to people in the past in direct provision, and they always felt under the threat of having to leave Ireland. In fact, there was he turned out to be a friend of mine down in South Donegal, and there was a big campaign to have him to allow him to stay, and eventually he was, and he's been here for ages now.
Yeah.
Do you have that fear or threat that you could be deported back to the country that you had to leave for political reasons, or are you secure now here in Ireland?
Well, at the moment, I'm secure. I have my stamp 4, which is good, and I'm secure now. But I still fear for other people because there is still a lot of deportation going on, and it's going on daily basis, and it's just so scary because I know there's no one who can just leave their comfort home and come to Ireland just for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right. So in this film that you're in, why did you decide to take part in it? And I suppose it is your story, but what story did you want to tell?
Well, in this film, I actually wanted to tell people about them so that they can know what direct provision is, because I've realized that there's no lot of people that are that have a clue and knowledge about direct provision. So for me to take part in that movie, when I had Frank Berry saying that he's shooting this kind of a movie, I really wanted to take part because I knew that this is what it will bring out. It will give people the way so that they can know what is direct provision, what is happening in direct provision, and it will give them clue of what direct provision is.
And in a few words, I know we've talked about it, what is direct provision to you, if you know what I mean?
Yes. In my few words, to be honest with you, I'll say direct provision is a small hell.
Really?
I would say that because there is so many things going on in direct provision that a lot of people don't know about. And I would encourage people to watch Aisha so that they can see what the real direct provision is.
And we will see it through the film, and we don't want to sort of discourage people from watching it, but can you pick one or two things that make it a little piece of hell?
There's facilities of people are not allowed to cook for themselves in other direct provisions. Like I said, in mine, I still have that privilege, and I'm grateful for the accommodation they gave me. But there is still others that are sharing like one bedroom. It's like 6-7 people in one bedroom, 12 people in a room and stuff like that. And they can't even cook for themselves. Sometimes they cook for them or whatsoever. So there's so many things. Some people, they don't even have facilities of getting GPs for that matter. Like, for instance, my oldest son came in Ireland in January last year. As we speak, he still doesn't have a GP and all those kind of things. And there's so many things going on. Why? Because
and it's little things that I observed too. I noticed some people in hotel accommodation, and they have their food hanging out the window.
Yeah.
And you could see it. It was out of numerous windows because there's no fridge in the room.
Yes.
Which is something we often take we might often take for granted, but they've come to hanging their fresh food that will spoil out through the window of the hotel, which is their accommodation. So, to me, I mean, you would be very aware of a vocal movement now here in Ireland.
Yes.
I still think it's a small group of people. Perhaps, I don't know, a moment of correction, but it's loud.
Yes.
There are objections to people coming into this country.
Yes.
And it's growing, you know what I mean? We've seen it in the past, but it's growing now. When you must see these posts on Facebook and what have you, how does that make you feel? Have you seen an increase in that kind of stuff lately? I think really particularly following the war in Ukraine. And does it affect you? Does it bother you? Do you believe it's representative of Irish society?
To be honest with you, it does, you know, especially when you live in direct provision, it does have an effect on me because, like, if only people can know what we go through, what is happening. I remember when I arrived in Ireland, I made I commented on the place where I used to stay and stuff like that, and then on the comments in the newspaper, the way people were responding to what maybe not being appreciated.
Yeah, well, let me exactly. So I'll pretend a comment, right?
Yeah.
You should be grateful for what you have in Ireland. If it's so bad, why don't you go home?
Exactly.
Right. So that's what people are going to say. So what would you say to them, or what did you say to them if you engaged them, to me?
Well, what I will say to them is that give us a chance. Listen to us, interrogate with us and get to know us, and you will see that we are not harmful. We are just normal people and we are just here for help. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a view on the amount of refugees coming into Ireland? Do you believe we are doing enough? Do you think we've done enough? Do you think we should take more people into Ireland?
Well, to be honest with you, I've realized that now Ireland doesn't have a lot of accommodation at the moment. And I see it with a lot of people in direct provision. There is no enough space. You know, I know we all need help, and somehow Ireland can take that much, you know. So, yeah.
So we should continue to accommodate people fleeing other countries to here.
Yes.
Okay. Right. So what is the pathway for you now, to have Irish citizenship, to be, that you can call this country your home in the full sense of the word? What happens next, or how long is the process?
Well, I still have a long way to go. But all I can say is that, yes, I am getting there. And as long as I abide by the rules and regulations of Ireland, I will definitely get, the status in Ireland so that I can be a resident.
Okay. So the film is being broadcast this evening.
Yes.
You're part of it. You've watched it. Tell us a little bit more about it. Obviously, it tells the direct provision story, but how is it laid out for us, to me?
Well, the film is laid out in a way that people has to learn what direct provision is, what people in direct provision go through, what is happening in direct provision. It basically tells about the deportation of people in direct provision and some small thing, the emotions of people going in direct provision. So it's basically based on a lot of things that are actually happening in direct provision, and I would really advise people to come and see it tonight.
Yeah, and afterwards there'll be a special screening of Aisha at the ATU Letterkenny campus tonight, as I mentioned, at 5:30 p.m. And there's some special guests there as well too, isn't there? Who's going to be there?
We have Frank Berry, which is the director of the movie Aisha, and then we have Lucky Kambule from Massive Movement of the Aslam Seeker, and which is the person that has been standing, talking a lot about, helping people in direct provision, standing for the people of direct provision.
Okay, and after that, those guests will be available for a discussion, a post-film discussion, where presumably some questions will be invited, and it's just... So do you advise people... There's no point... There is a point, sorry. There will be a lot of people that will go to this that support you, that support direct, that support the concerns about direct provision and what have you. But really, it's kind of people on the fence, or maybe who don't understand, I think, that are best to consume this type of stuff. It's like anything, by the way. It could be something that I don't agree with, but I can only educate myself if I challenge my viewpoints by watching or listening to another perspective. Do you get where I'm coming from? So ideally, you would want people who maybe don't necessarily have a full understanding to see a film like this.
Yes, I would definitely like people that doesn't have a lot of understanding about this to come and see the film like this, because I think it will be actually it will be a learning curve for them to see what is the real direct provision all about.
Your last 2 years in Letterkenny, though, have been positive, haven't they? I mean, you've been, I think you said it to Caroline, that you've felt welcomed here.
Yes, I felt very welcomed here in Letterkenny, I must say. The community everywhere, I felt very welcomed. So I just love Letterkenny.
Okay. Well, listen to me. It's been a very interesting conversation, and we really appreciate you calling up to us.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
No problem. So it is a film based on women's experience in direct provision. It's going to be screened at that free event in Letterkenny this evening. Amnesty International Ireland, the Letterkenny Group and the Law Society, ATU Letterkenny, will host a special screening of Aisha at the ATU Letterkenny campus, as I say, tonight from 5:30pm. The director will be there, others who took part in this film, and there'll be a post-film discussion on lived experiences in direct provision. One of the people in the film is Tumi Haonwi, and we really appreciate once again you calling up to see us.
Thank you very much.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate holiday loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Some people get up early every morning. But on the morning of May 6th, we want everyone to be up for the most important sunrise of the year. Whether it's your first time or 10th time, join Pieta and Electric Ireland for this year's Darkness into Light. On May 6th, everyone's welcome. Sign up, take part and raise much needed funds for suicide prevention at darknessintolight.ie.
Spring is here, and so too are the new arrivals at Green Shoes. Shop in store or online now from best-selling brands like Doc Martens, Una Healy and Echo. Also Riker, Kate Appleby, Tommy Bow and many more. Shop LK and One for All gift cards accepted in store. Visit Green Shoes and discover the perfect footwear to complement your style. Green Shoes at Market Square, Letterkenny Shopping Centre, Fulcara and online at greenshoes.com.
I've been surfing all morning at FlemingLTD.com to find out about Fleming Doors, Fleming Steel and Fleming Coatings and their full range of products. So come surfing with me at FlemingLTD.com. Fleming, 91 48 234.
eTenders is the national platform to find opportunities to sell to government. On the 15th of May this year, a new eTenders platform will be launched. Businesses will be able to access the new platform at the existing address. You'll need to confirm your details on the new system. Supports, including training, will be made available to businesses throughout the transition. To stay up to date, visit gov.ie/OGP. That's gov.ie/OGP.
Caller says, very little news, if any, regarding Fianna Fáil TD Niall Collins controversy on mainstream media. Any listeners find this strange? I would say a lot of people do. I don't understand why it's not being covered. It's not something we covered, what the actions of a TD down the country. Obviously, our focus is up here in the Northwest. As to why it hasn't appeared anywhere else other than the ditch, I really don't know the answer to that question. Greg, the racists are spreading false stories about a woman being followed on a beach in Inishowen, and we need to stop giving these racists any time whatsoever. The varying accounts of a story about a woman being followed on a beach is classic disinformation, fake news taken out of the Donald Trump book of spreading lies to suit a particular narrative. In this case, racism. Feelings are not fact. Now, I would not use that word. I've had contact from people who are now, whether it's justified or not, who had genuine concerns, and ignoring that doesn't achieve absolutely anything. And calling someone racist or the opposite of that, or left or right. I don't see any benefit in that whatsoever. I was contacted by a couple of people, women, who weren't motivated other than that they felt a little bit fearful. And as I would do for anything that someone contacts us here, to try and get some information on that. Now, there are some people, presumably, that might take these stories, and I've seen it myself, and then state them as absolute fact. And even if they are clarified after the fact, that's never mentioned. But that being said, no one was sharing anything public with me. It was just a couple of contacts that I had privately, and I wanted to chase them up because I told the listeners that I would. And that's no disrespect to your point of view as well. I just don't really personally want to sort of engage in. I would like for us to converse about things, discuss things, and come up with maybe agree to disagree or what have you. But us splintering and them and us and they, I don't see any benefit in that, or how we proceed as a society down those lines, to be completely honest with you. No, the €100 charge remains in place for ED if you do not have a GP letter to attend. Okay, thank you for that. I didn't state it one way or other because I wasn't sure, and I didn't want to mislead anyone. So it's the charges for overnights and what have you. Is that it? Greg, I live in Letterkenny and work in Inishowen. We share the driving and find it difficult to find anywhere in Letterkenny to park for the day. The council bought a petrol station at the Dry Arch many years ago to build a new road through, but nothing has happened. Why can the council not turn this into a park and ride for people like us? These parking spaces are in many other towns in Ireland. What a fantastic idea. If it would work, of course. If you had an area like the bottom of Lurgy Brack where people could park their cars and hop on and off a bus that travelled in and out of Letterkenny. I wonder how many cars that use the 4 lanes there would that take off that stretch of road. Does anyone else think that would be a good idea? Not necessarily. We'll not get caught up in the argument of what that space is going to be used for or anything, but something like that, something a little bit innovative, a trial whereby you actually had a park and ride from somewhere maybe at the mountaintop and somewhere down at the Dry Arch roundabout. Regular bus services in and out, just doing loops constantly. Could that work? How many cars would it take off the road? I don't know. Okay, let us have a conversation now with Rosemary McDonough, who's the IFA Farm Business National Chair. Good morning to you, Rosemary. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you very much for having me.
No, and it's in the context of the association holding an online meeting tomorrow to update farmers on the residential loan zone land tax. Okay, talk to us a little bit about this, because this is kind of, I feel, turning out the way I thought it might, in that there are a few people probably well connected with advanced knowledge of this type of thing down in Dublin and elsewhere that have managed to get exemptions. And I'm just thinking of the poor farmer or poor smallholder up here who doesn't have those connections to do so. So talk to me a little bit about the residential zoned land tax and what will be up for discussion tomorrow.
Yes, okay. All right, so as you said there, yes, IFA are holding online tomorrow a webinar on the residential zoned land tax. And I suppose the stage it's at the moment and what the process is for people. But just, we'll go back a step for one moment to do a little bit of background. This was introduced as part of the finance bill back in 2022, and it's to come into force, we'll say, the tax of it in 2024. So previously, we had a vacant site tax, and this is to replace the vacant site tax. But the biggest problem at the moment is that in the previous one, in the vacant site levy, there was an exemption for farmed land. But at the moment, there is no exemption built into this new residential zoned land tax. So I suppose ultimately that would be the biggest challenge for IFA, that we would be campaigning that farmed land would be exempt from this residential zoned land tax. Now, another couple of changes is that this new residential zoned land tax is being administered by the revenue commissioners. So it is a self-assessing tax on the farmers or the landowners. It's talking about 3% of annual market value, which is self-assessed on the lands that are zoned residential and serviced. So we in IFA estimate that there could be up to 8,000 to 9,000 hectares impacted by this new tax, mostly agricultural land that farmers would not have actively seeked for the lands to be zoned. And I mean, this land is being used at the moment, we say, for food production, and there is farm families making a living, and this land would have been inherited from one generation to the next, so you can have that many generations on the farm. So it's a penal tax. Now,
just in relation to that, and we'll get into sort of the local authorities, what have you, Rosemary. I mean, obviously, this is there are maps available; people can see where this land is.
Yeah.
Does this? I hope it's by accident and not designed that farmers are being taxed out of farming. In other words, by the time this tax is applied to them, and there's no escaping it because it's through revenue, of course,
yes, exactly.
They will be compelled to give up farming on this land and make it available for residential development. Surely that wasn't a design of this, was it? Or do you believe maybe it was?
Well, that's what it's beginning to look like, because the 3% of annual market value, that is penal. It will accumulate into a very substantial tax that will be more than the margin that is being made from the farm at the moment, depending on what farming type or farming sector. But just going back to what, and you talked a second about it there, the local authorities, the way the legislation was designed, the local authorities just had to publish the maps outlining, the development plan in the area and what was in scope in those maps. So there was no onus built into the system where the local authorities had to notify landowners. So there are many, many landowners out there or farmers out there that may not even know at this stage that they are impacted by this tax. And we had were notified or came to our attention where somebody was, we'll say in the solicitor's office trying to organise to transfer site to the next generation. And that's when, at that stage, they realised that their lands were zoned. So absolutely, going back to your point there, that it is a very penal tax, and it's on the market value, which will be very significant from a cost point of view.
And as things... we'll get to the options, but what's happening here, as I mentioned just at the start, is things are starting to develop exactly how I anticipated that they might. So you have farmers who are perhaps losing out on appeals. This is land that they use for farming, for food growing and grazing and what have you. Yet we have a developer like Michael O'Flynn down in Cork who secures an exemption from a vacant land tax for 12 Cork city sites. Now, this is land in a city that presumably is just ready to go for housing. This is going to save him approximately $2 million a year annually if all of his appeals are successful. That's where there'd be huge demand. Yet we're talking about people in Donegal, for example, with land adjacent to certain towns and what have you. It's agricultural land, and they're not having the same level of success. That to me doesn't make sense, where developers can sit on land that is perhaps for housing, and yet farmers are being compelled almost to give up their land through this tax. It doesn't sound right to me.
No, it doesn't, absolutely. And that's where we're saying that it's completely unfair. There's no transparency. There needs to be equity and in the system, and that's where the farmers wouldn't have looked for this land to be zoned. And in many of those cases, that it will take many, many years before the development would actually come as far as the farmland. So it's extremely unfair to think that a farmer would be liable to this tax for a number of years when there are so many brownfield sites around that can be used first, that there are towns and villages that have up the main street where they need to be rejuvenated and they need to be got back in use. So there are many, many other opportunities that can be looked at first before they look at land that's being actively farmed and held in farmers' families for many generations.
Yeah, but last year or late last year,
unfair.
Yeah, last year or late last year, I believe he's got the backing of an Oireachtas committee which unanimously agreed that actual farmers, not people that are claiming to farm, but actual genuine farmers should be exempt from this. Nothing came from that unanimous backing of that Oireachtas committee, obviously, or we wouldn't still be having this conversation. You were going to talk about the process. I presume you believe it to be unfair.
Yeah, and just going back to that Oireachtas committee, I was actually in there at the Oireachtas on the taxation, and it came up in that. So, and we have made, the ISA have made submissions. We have had many meetings with councillors, with all the ministers, with the government parties, and all the leaders. And even, in the Dáil, Leo Varadkar did actually say, and I'll quote his words, "This is my farm. I own this land. It has been in my family for generations, and I don't want to develop it. I want to continue to farm it." So, I mean, we really do need the politicians to stand up.
And I think one of the points you made...
let the farmers farm their land.
I think one of the points you made, and I hope I don't misquote you, but effectively you were saying... I think that this is a blunt instrument, really, that before a tax like this is levelled on a farmer, find out, is there a demand for that land? Is it needed? And all that type of stuff. That's not happening. That's a blunt instrument. And as I say, I think that was the thrust of some of the comments you made at that Oireachtas committee.
Yeah, it was, absolutely, because it feels like a land grab. It feels like CPO, the compulsory purchase order by the back door. It actually has a huge consequence for property rights. It's like there's a higher power coming in there interfering with property rights. And it's a revenue collecting exercise, even though, the revenue will say, no, it's not. But it feels like all of those, and exactly, that boils down to, it's a blunt instrument. Absolutely. There's plenty more land out there. There are plenty of sites and derelict sites and that weren't finished, and developments back in the time, ghost estates that need to be finished
council and government-owned property and so on and so forth.
Exactly.
There are many examples. And I would say many people listening to us, or at least some people listening to us, maybe aren't really, or maybe at this point they might be, may not be aware or weren't aware until recently that their land could be affected by this. Because really, to go and find the map, like I could go and find it now, but it would probably take me 5 or 10 minutes, and then I'd have to click here, click there, zoom in there, and so on and so forth. There's not, the information is there, but there doesn't seem to be any real... They almost want this to slip in. Do you know what I mean? I think there should be far more consultation with landowners.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is, we made that point as well in the Oireachtas, that this just having to publish the maps is not good enough, because is, as you said there, able to go in, find the maps, zone in, find whether their land is on it or not. They might not have broadband strong enough to do that. They might not have the IT or the technical ability to actually go in and find those maps. There should be, people should have been notified that. But bottom line, our ask is that the farmed land should be exempt, as it was in the vacant site levy.
And I think too, also
at the moment,
Rosemary, just one other point too. By coincidence, we were talking a little earlier on to a person works with the council as it relates to a greenway running from Buncrana to Carndonagh, the length of the Inishowen Peninsula. Well, not the length of it, but a good portion of it. And the process going through to consult with and engage with landowners, there's a full year of giving landowners an opportunity to have their say, to digest it. Then there's ongoing negotiations. Then they're going to work with landowners to try and navigate their land and not split fields and all this type of stuff. So on one hand, you have got people, or one arm of the state, bending over backwards to respect people's land ownership and their rights and all that. And on another, you have a system whereby people are effectively, some might feel, they're being taxed out of farming, zero consultation, no public consultation, no meetings. And it doesn't make sense unless it is you could only conclude, whether it's true or not, that it is something of a land grab or to compel people out of farming.
Absolutely. There seems to be no consultation here, and it's such a blunt instrument. It's coming down the road so fast. So I've been basically at the moment, farmers that knew about it had an opportunity to put in an appeal to the council, and that appeal had to be in by the 1st of January 2023. So the council then had until the 1st of April to review those appeals, come with a decision, and send out their determination. And a lot of those were left until nearly the 1st of April. And then the next step in the process at the moment is that if a farmer is not happy with the determination that came from the council, they now have to go to An Bord Pleanála. So, I mean, you have the whole system there where the cost of it, the whole, well, there is no cost to make the appeal, but the whole background, you might have to, get a planner or an engineer or somebody to help you make this application to An Bord Pleanála. So that is the next step, and that has to be in by the 1st of May. So the 1st of May is only around the corner. We feel that this is an extremely tight window because of the Easter break as well in that time frame. So that's the process at the moment. And I mean, we would strongly advise anybody that is, in scope for this, that they do need to further their appeal and send it to An Bord Pleanála.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because,
well,
they have to be in the process.
Understood.
They have to,
Well, listen, there's going to be much more information and more, because I'm having to skip through it because we're short on time, Rosemary. But tomorrow there is this webinar that people can hook up into. It's at 11 a.m. How do people register or log into it, please?
If they go... Okay, sorry. So if people who may have some interest in this or just want for their own information and have the time, please go to the ISA website. And on the ISA website, they will be able to register for the webinar, and they will then get a link when they register. So the webinar is at 11 a.m. tomorrow morning online. So
and I think
register for it on the ISA website.
Okay, and as I say, not just farmers, county councillors, local reps, community groups. Yeah. Okay, Rosemary, thanks for your time this morning. Take care of yourself.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Get the moss problems in your lawn sorted with Mobacter, the natural product to remove moss from your lawn. Apply Mobacter now and forget. No raking necessary. And Mobacter will not stain your patio areas. Mobacter is the only moss remover approved by the Royal Horticultural Society. Mobacter Lawn Fertiliser for beautiful green, moss-free lawns from local co-ops and garden stores. Check out mobacter.ie for all Viano products or find us on Facebook.
Go full Lidl and fire up your bank holiday weekend, rain or shine. Get the perfect smoky flavours with our quality ceramic egg barbecue. Was $99.99, now just $89.99. Fill the grill with Board B approved barbecue meats, 3 for €10, like deluxe Irish steak burgers, quick cooked chicken fillets, and chicken thighs and drumsticks. And quench your thirst with Guinness. 12-pack, now just $19.88. Go on, shop without compromise and pay less. Go full summer at Lidl.
Keep your car or van running smoothly with a service at Hegarty's Ford in Letterkenny. Not only will it minimise the risk of a major repair expense, but it will be logged in your vehicle's service handbook and help its resale value. Hegarty's also offer everything from new and pre-owned car sales to parts and body repairs in their approved body shop. Book a service online this month and save €30 when you use the code FORD30. You're always in good hands at Hegarty's Ford, Carnamugga, Letterkenny. See Hegartys.com.
You may have heard others making claims, but there's only one number one, and it's official. The Kia Sportage is now Donegal's best-selling car in 2023. Call in today to iMotors Letterkenny or Malin, or visit imotors.ie to find out why the Kia Sportage is Donegal's best-selling car.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Discover Edinburgh this summer with Ryanair's 3 times weekly service. Stunning architecture, endless winding streets and an awe-inspiring castle. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
All right, chilly enough for the next few days, but some indications that things might improve towards the end of the week. But today, any cloud about will gradually clear through the afternoon and evening with brighter spells developing. Highest temperatures 8 to 11 degrees in light to moderate northerly breezes. As I say, tonight, temperatures -2 to +2, as we warned on the programme last week for those of you out in the garden. Right, OK, one more quick break to catch up on, then the news at 11.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
There's bingo every Monday night at Halfway House Bingo Burnfoot. Doors open at 7:30 with eyes down at 8:30. €2,500 must go. The snowball is now €2,350 on 45 numbers or less. If you're not in, you can't win. That's Halfway House Bingo tonight at 8:30.
Sunsoak in Mexico with TUI. Fly direct to Cancun from Dublin and save up to €400 per person. Holiday sorted. TUI. Live happy. Offer T's and C's apply.
Forward Emphasis International, based in Mallinhead and Belfast, are actively recruiting for customer service advisors and insurance claims processors with both in-office and hybrid opportunities available. Fully funded insurance and financial services qualifications delivering attractive career path opportunities are available. Please visit their website forwardemphasis.ie and apply via their careers page.
Wheezing or sneezing? When you're feeling under the weather, your local Brennan's Pharmacy can help. Rest, fluids and simple pain relief are the most effective remedies for a common cold. But if you find that you're coughing so hard that your chest hurts, or if it's disrupting your sleep, just ask our pharmacist to recommend the best solution for a speedy recovery. For all your pharmacy needs and advice you can trust, we're here for you at Brennan's Pharmacy, Buncrana, Clonmany and Creeslaw.
Donaghy Brothers are ready. Are you ready for our biggest event of the year? Donaghy Brothers Limavady Spectacular Grand Opening is on Saturday 29th of April and it's going to be epic. Food demos by top chefs. There's live music and entertainment on the day, plus incredible prizes on the hour every hour. Gather your friends and family and head down to Donaghy Brothers Limavady on Saturday 29th of April for an unforgettable day of fun and excitement.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
And I'm joined in studio now at 11 o'clock with an update on the news. Good morning, Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A post-mortem examination is to be carried out on a body found in Bundoran yesterday. The body was found in the Rogie Cliffwalk area yesterday morning. It's since been removed from the scene and Gardaí say foul play is not suspected. The General Manager of Letterkenny University Hospital has apologised to all patients affected by a number of data breaches at the hospital. 2 incidents at Letterkenny University Hospital are among over 500 data protection breaches recorded by the HSC last year. The Taoiseach has admitted the country needs improved strategic airlift capacity to ensure Defence Forces personnel are in place quicker. It comes as 12 members of the Defence Forces are en route to Sudan to assist in evacuating around 150 Irish citizens. To date, 50 Irish people were evacuated from Sudan by French and Spanish authorities. The president of the Garda Representative Association believes more Gardaí should be armed with tasers due to the isolation of Gardaí in Donegal, particularly with little backup available should assistance be required during an incident. Due to an increase in attacks against Gardaí, the GRA says greater protection is vital. A special meeting of Donegal County Council has been adjourned for a period. Councillors are meeting to consider the draft Letterkenny Plan and Local Transport Plan, as well as the County Donegal Development Plan 2024 to 2030. Councillors from the Letterkenny Milford Municipal District are currently meeting to discuss a number of issues with the draft Letterkenny Plan. A former Donegal salmon draft net licence holder has been found guilty of 2 breaches of fisheries legislation. Liam White of Ardra was found to be in possession of 13 untagged salmon in the boot of his vehicle on July the 10th, 2017. He's been fined at €2,800. The government is being urged to immediately provide support for homeowners hit by crippling mortgage interest increases. A Sinn Féin motion to be debated in the Dáil tomorrow calls for a time-limited mortgage interest relief of up to €1,500 to be introduced. And the Education Minister is encouraging families of new applicants for school transport to apply before Friday. Bus Éireann's family portal closes on April the 28th for transport services for the 2023-2024 school year. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
OK, Michaela, thank you very much indeed.
On Post Money Mate is a current account that gives kids the power. So what money power do they want? The power to get paid for their chores? Come on, nearly there, Connor.
Oh, it's so unfair.
Relax, your mum's paying you with jobs on the app. Or to be a super saver with savings jars.
Hold on, can I have the power to keep an eye on all of this?
You can, with the current account for kids that's just €2 per month, plus your first 3 months free. Search On Post Moneymate or get the On Post Money app. T's and C's apply. See onpostmoney.com/moneymate. Available for children aged 7 to 15 and a half years. Transaction fees apply. After 3 months, a monthly fee applies. On Post is authorised by the Minister for Finance to provide payment services and is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland in the provision of such services.
OK, we embrace good news here and highlight it just as often as we can. And there is good news because work has finally commenced on the construction of the new primary care centre in Dunfanaghy. €2.5 million going to be spent. And as we know, it's faced numerous delays after planning permission was granted way back in April 2019. It's April 2023 now. Dr. Paul Stewart is GP in Dunfanaghy and Creeslough. And this is very welcome news, Paul. Better late than never.
Good morning, Greg. Yes, this is great news. It's been a long time in the coming, as you say, but it's great news for the people of Dunfanaghy, but also for the people, the community in Creeslough, who will be using the facility as well, and God knows could do with a bit of good news.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're delighted.
And you know, the longer it goes from planning permission being granted till work starting, we get nervous, don't we? So it's been a long 4 years, but as I say, is it 4 years? Maybe it's 5. No, it's 4. Better late than never. Great to see work underway, and things should progress quite quickly from here onwards, Paul.
Yes, I'm hoping. I mean, we originally were told that we were going to be in the premises on Easter 2023. So here we are. Hopefully, I'm told we might be in for next summer. So that is good. But look, this is due to a lot of hard work by a number of people. Joe McHugh, of course, and Pat the Cope has been a great supporter of us over all these years. So I think they should, on this day, be commended. You know.
Indeed. And
they kept the pressure up.
Yeah, you need that. The McCallion Group, obviously, they did the Buncrana Primary Care Centre, so we know the quality of their work too. The people of Dunfanaghy, Creeslough and surrounds can look forward to a great facility, hopefully, the middle of next year. Yes, I mean, the building in Buncrana is a beautiful building, and so we're delighted to have the McCallions on board as well. This is going to be a big building. I was looking at the original plans. I mean, they may have changed, but the surgery just takes up about a quarter of the building. The rest is made up of primary care offices and so on. I think I counted 18 different offices, and with facilities for home health, public health nurses, occupational therapists, physiotherapists, and possibly an ambulance bay, which would be very welcome. If it's survived the original plans to this day. Okay.
So, Greg, couldn't be.
All right. Unfortunately, the line failed us there. But Dr. Paul Stewart, who's the GP in Dunfanaghy and Creeslough, thank you so much for your time. And as I say, great to be able to focus on some good news. Brendan Devaney is the presenter of the Highland Radio DL Debates podcast, producer as well, all round. But it's, you know, it's all about you, Brendan. Come here. Good morning to you. I don't know. I mean, it's sport, right? And we're only talking about sport. But yesterday was depressing. I think it kind of really, and this is no disrespect to any players or individual performances, I think it kind of really was a 70-odd minute advert for the state of Donegal GA on and off the pitch.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised.
No, you flagged it, in fairness.
No,
Donegal went into that game as favourites, and it was you who, amongst others, but...
I thought we'd lose yesterday if I was in my heart of hearts. Obviously, you're going up there hoping for a victory. I just felt that after the league campaign we had, that we still hadn't got, I think, any shape to our team in terms of having a defensive structure, and then the players that we used to play through aren't there anymore, and I just think it's going to take this team to find their feet and find their way.
Who's going to help them find their feet? No disrespect to the lads looking after the team at the moment, but why was a manager and management team like we normally see not brought in to try and kickstart this process as we headed into the championship? I mean, do people who made those decisions not have questions to answer?
Well, listen, Greg, if we're really honest about it, nobody was actually looking for the job. You remember, if we're going way back to the drawn out process, there was a lot of people speculation about obviously Kevin and Lacey coming in. You know, they had spoke about taking the job. They didn't formally go for the job. They pulled out then later on. So this management team was kind of put together, and there wasn't many people. I think for SP Barrett out in Milford was the only one I think came forward and had put his hands up outside of the boys that ended up getting the job. So there wasn't this queue of people.
Well, why
to take
is
the
it
job.
such an unattractive job then?
I think because I think a lot of people realise we're about to hit a period of transition, and that transition would have been tough enough. We were stable when the likes of obviously Michael Murphy left. That would have been a problem. But as it was at the time when he left, things really started to, I suppose, unravel a bit. I mean, we had 5 debutants there yesterday, Greg, and that's why I'm a wee bit, Kieran McColgan, young O'Donnell, Tobin, Luke McGlenn, making your debut for Donegal is still a big thing. I just felt with going up to Park Esler, I'd watched and talked to Down people and seen how they played. They have a rigid defensive structure, which I just felt that over the course of the game we would crash on it a bit, and they had their D well protected. They were very, very rigid. Now, it was a dangerous game, Greg, because if we had to get into a lead, we could have potentially beat them. But you just think when teams play that system, and because we were lacking in confidence, which was natural from the league, and you look at the league then, were we better than those last couple of league games? Yes, but was opposition better? No, these definitely weren't.
Well, you see, I just noted on social media, for what it's worth, a lot of people sort of making comparisons between a Division 1 team playing a Division 3 team, and what happened in other games, the Armagh game, for example, and what have you. But I think, too, in the last conversation, you quite rightly pointed out that maybe Down are ahead of Donegal now. Maybe they're a team on the up, and we are a Division 3 team. It's just going to take another year to get there. Now, hopefully it won't, but, maybe Down were ahead of us going into that game, but not a lot of people seem to be seeing that.
Down very unlucky not to get promoted. Last year, Greg, they were right up and about there. I think it might have been a head-to-head with Fermanagh that might have been the difference going into the last game or something. So they were right in the mix to get promoted. So if they we were in the same division going into this season. So this thing about Division 1 and 3 doesn't make a lot of sense. If Down had a mediocre Division 3, Greg, and we were still in Division 1, then yeah, you could have brought that into the mix. But at the end of the day, we are now a Division 2 team. That's where we're at. And Down will be very much pushing
a Division 2 team, arguably. Yeah.
Down are very much looking to be in Division 2, so that gap of the leagues wasn't really well. Listen, are Down a great team? No, they aren't, and they were actually missing a couple of better players as well. I mean, O'Hagan and Keelan Mooney, for me, is probably 2 of the best footballers. They were both out as well, so we were missing a lot. They were missing a lot. You probably have 7 or 8 players there in the mix, Greg, yesterday for different reasons. McFadden Ferry's injury, Mogan. Obviously, the 3 O'Donnells from this town are definitely good enough to be in that side yesterday and added so much to it. You have McBurty's injury, Ryan McHugh's injury, then you have Langan going off. Oisín Gallen's only coming back from injury. Let's say you put those players into that team yesterday. Donegal won that game quite easily. So you're looking at this from a Donegal perspective. There is another story there.
If ifs and ands,
Yeah, well, that's a pretty big one, though.
Of course it is, but I think there's a lot of people out there that see everything that's going on. And I know you are always try and play it level, and there's an awful lot of people who's very quick to criticise the county board and believe that's the root of all problems. And you're a voice out there, I'm not saying you're defending them, but you perhaps see it from both sides, right? Yeah. But at what point then do we say there is a crisis here that does require, whether it's justified or not, a bit of a root and branch change at all levels of the association?
Well, I mean, that's a deep one. Like, if we're going into the whole thing of the setup of county board, obviously with Arcata being that, that's a whole massive story on its own. I think the senior team right now, as they stands, if we had those players back, we're a different team. I think obviously there'll be new management coming in next year. I think they have to be given at least a 4-year tenure, and none of this looking at it or reviews and anything like that. They have to build a team again into Donegal. Now, those guys are all experienced. If them players I mentioned come back in the mix, that is a completely different team. That would be stable in Division 2 and maybe push to get back in. Without those lads, you could actually go down again. So I think at the minute Donegal are going into this group stage in the Championship, Greg. It's 5 weeks away. It's a really tough job to think that we could beat anybody going into these group stages the way we're playing. So I think really we're already looking to, as you said, what's the next picture? We need to get young or maybe a management mix in here. The likes of the 2 guys that Kevin and Lacey would be a perfect fit. They say, right guys, here's 4 years now, mould this team back together and let's get Donegal GA on the up again, because at the minute it's sliding, Greg, continually.
For sure, but if you get them in with low expectations for a go at this group crack, maybe anyway. Do you think also there's a responsibility on people? Fans will have their opinions and perfectly right to do so. As soon as they hand over their hard-earned cash, I think they have that right. I'm not sure, is it the same in other counties where people, you know, who always have an opinion but might be slow to rule themselves out of maybe getting involved, or who sort of float the idea that they might be sort of quasi-involved but they don't want a job, that I don't think an awful lot of that helps. You know, I think what we need is people who genuinely want to come in and be part of a team, you know, an actual selector, an actual trainer, an actual manager, rather than people sort of maybe, you know, throwing out statements here and there that disrupts things, and it's going to disrupt things for players as well. You know, they're just the exact same as us, except much more fitter and handsome. Yeah. But you know what I'm on about. Like,
there was a lot of disruptive stuff happen from people, ex-players and managers that release stuff in the media at the same time that, as you're saying, that bigger picture. So we got to probably pull these things apart now. They all do come together in one way, but I think it's a great time to take Donegal, you know, going into the seasons ahead, because right now, I suppose, I have never seen the team probably at the ebb that they're at, the low ebb that they're at. So there will be a bit of a buzz from getting that back, getting those players back in and getting Donegal on the front footing again. And I think if you had new management in particular that came in, that still had experience from the likes of those lads that won the All-Ireland in 2012, I think that would be the nice, a good fit for Donegal.
I'll tell you what I think makes it attractive as well is that we are at the lowest ebb. To some extent, do you know what I mean? And anything from here, any wins, any good performances, you know, you'll get the fans behind you really, really quickly. But I think even the most loyal of fans after yesterday feel a bit. And as I say, it's not down to the players or individual performances. And there's loads of families out there so proud that their young lads got a start and stuff, and we should never lose sight of that.
We got
to
address
be able
it.
to talk about.
But Greg, we have to address it. We have to address it quick, because you know Cavan have gone to Division 4, Derry have gone to Division 4, Armagh have been in 3. You know, down there. Like you know, those are all teams with proud traditions with serious footballers. But we got to address this quick before it goes any further, because what you'll have in the end, Greg, you'll have players in maybe turning to other sports. You'll have issues with sponsorship. You'll have different things.
Well,
you can't go out. You can't go out of two. Greg, it's very important that we get the right people in place for next year.
We could also be losing a generation through emigration if we're not careful as well. You know, if they don't feel they have a reason to stay. People believe you're making excuses. I don't believe you are. I think for any conversation you have to
making excuses for what?
I'd say the county board is what they're saying.
I'm not. Well, we didn't even address the county board. But listen, you know,
I'm guessing that's what they mean.
We're trying to analyse. I suppose that's where we're at, Greg. I mean, at the end of the day, I think we know what needs to happen in Donegal. But it's not like you just click your fingers and say, right, this person and that person take the job. They have to want the job. That has to be something that they're into. But certainly at the minute, Donegal.
For your dream team, do you think there are other people in positions in the game in this country, in this county, that would need to be not in those positions anymore for that dream team, for example?
No.
Okay, that's fine.
Listen, once you're given a job like that, if you're in to do your job, you'll do it. There's very little interaction there. The only time like the likes of management need anything from the likes of a county board is really if they want a training camp or they need money for something. Apart from that, the management will train the team. It's got nothing to do with anybody else at officiating level.
Okay. Now, before that game, our minors beat down.
Yes.
And also we had... So talk a little bit about that. I know you don't have a ton of time, but we've got another couple of minutes. Go on.
That's all right. No, listen, we end on good news, because
hurlers did well as well.
The hurlers and our minors on the back there, victory over Fermanagh, they absolutely hammered down. I mean, I was at the stage I felt sorry for the young down lads. You know, I think it was 19 points in it at the end. But listen, that's not our problem. Big game of Derry coming up, and of course Derry and Donegal played in the pre-competition league final. Derry's underage is going phenomenal well, so that's where we're at. So fair play to Luke Barrett and his charges there, Brendan Kilcoyne and all the young lads, because they're absolutely flying. It's great to see. And if you're looking for bright sparks, if you're thinking about a management coming in, if you have a wave of good young lads coming through, that's very important. So hopefully the season and championship keeps going well for them. And I say Mickey McCann and the hurlers, phenomenal stuff. Another big win, and the Nicky record, they're going from strength to strength, and that's the big plus point.
You're enjoying that, aren't you? The senior hurlers, I can tell it, and we know now.
Get behind the hurlers out there.
When all else fails. What a great couple of guests as well for a proper insight into what's going on and off the pitch in Donegal and Down, because you've got Kevin Cassidy, who you'll be chatting to very shortly, All-Ireland winning captain to DJ Kane. So
Yes.
two cracking guests that tease it all out.
And listen, I'll be talking, if you want to listen later, about what Kevin, and what an overview from Kevin being DJ. I'll talk more about the game and that. As I spoke to the Donegal manager, Aidan O'Rourke, after the game yesterday. That's up on the Highland side. I spoke to Luke Bard as well. That's up on the Highland side, highlandradio.com as well. Those interviews are up there, and we'll talk about what they had to say as well. And of course, we've got feedback from the hurling camp as well.
Just after 7 o'clock, you can listen to it live this evening, and it's a podcast as well for you to listen to whenever you want. You've got Brendan there, Kevin Cassidy, DJ Kane, and other great guests as well. And it's all brought to you in association with Sister Sarah's there in Letterkenny. All right, Brendan, listen, thanks for your time as always. Back shortly.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
The 9 till Noon Show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
The world is getting a little more. But maybe more could mean something else. More means more proactive green energy solutions. More means more wind turbines and more recycling. More means more biodiversity and more energy storage. More means more hydrogen and more solar farms, because more clean energy means more efficient living, means more thriving communities, means more energy autonomy. That's why we're more than Mona. Learn more at morethanmona.ie. Board Mona.
Inishowen Co-op invite you to a renewable energy information event in the Inishowen Gateway Hotel, Buncrana, Wednesday 26th of April at 8 p.m. Listen to the experts and find out the facts on anaerobic digestion, solar and wind energy, and how they will benefit you farming in the future.
Do you know what I love about Letterkenny Shopping Centre? I love it because everything I need is under one roof. There's fashion shopping for women and men, health foods and cosmetics, Tesco's and Pennies, free parking, and late night shopping Thursday and Friday. I love it because Letterkenny Shopping Centre has it all, including homeware, jewellery, hair and beauty, and Revolution Laundry and their free car park. Letterkenny Shopping Centre. So much choice and open 7 days.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
The time's 20 minutes past 11. In studio, we have Ciara Barber. Ciara, thank you so much for joining us. Great to have you in.
Very welcome to be here.
And sitting over my shoulder here is a big plastic box full of stuff. A care package, it's called. You launched We Care Packages with your sister Siobhan, presumably. That's a play on the words that we say, obviously. It's,
yes.
It's a wee thing.
A wee care package,
But we also do care, of course. Right, so there's a collection of these boxes. There's the chemo box, the radiation box, the sleep and relax box, and the deluxe box. This is an amazing thing here, Ciara. Where did the idea come from?
So it all started with myself. I had a brain tumour in 2018, so Christmas 2018. I was working in Dublin and I came up for Christmas and I was out of walk actually and I got a stutter. The words just, couldn't say what I wanted to say, and went back to work New Year's Eve, and it was kind of getting in the way of talking to my customers. And then I decided I would come up home to get a doctor's appointment. And I went to my own local doctors in Buncrana and I was explaining the symptoms. And then as soon as I went in on that Monday, she sent me to Letterkenny for a scan. And I had just packed a bag I was coming up Sunday, down on the Tuesday, back to work. But no, so I was diagnosed with a even can you try and say it there?
Oligodendroglioma. I don't know.
Okay, so it's a rare brain tumour.
Yeah.
So I was in Letterkenny. I had my own ward, and on the day, 28 visitors came in to see me, and I was like, "What are you all doing here? I'm fine." And then they told us that it was a brain tumour,
which is scary.
It was scary, at the time. And then I think I was just in shock pretty much, but I was laughing the whole way, and I'm a very positive person. I was grand, like, and then obviously everyone was really upset whenever they heard, and then
because you ended up, I would say, when you're the person that got the diagnosis, you're the person sitting in hospital, and what do we end up doing? Trying to make everyone around us feel okay, saying, don't worry about it, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
And it's funny, and it's not just in your case, it happens all the time,
so
where people end up being the counsellor. You're sitting there waiting to go into the, but you're trying to make everyone feel okay.
That's exactly how it
It's funny how it goes, isn't it?
Yeah, so then I was in Letterkenny, and then a bed came free in Beaumont. So then that was January 2019, you know. And then I had the operation, and then they only could remove 95% of it.
Yes.
So the rest then, after the operation, I lost power on my right side, and I went back to work in April. Like, I just felt the longer I sat at home, I was becoming a patient.
Was your rehab getting back to work?
It
really,
was like, I had to
Yeah.
learn to walk, because this one side of me, I couldn't really move and get my strength back and stuff, but they couldn't remove the whole tumour because I would be left a vegetable.
Okay, yeah.
So that's what, I didn't know this until after. And then I went back to work in Dublin in April, and then the following March then, so like I had my scans, my follow-up scans, it was April. It was just coming into COVID. So I had to do radio for 6 weeks down in Dublin, and then I had chemo after that, and then in between that I had to freeze my eggs. But the radio, I was down Monday to Friday in the lodge, and it was stressful because
tough, isn't it?
The day that they told me that I needed chemo was the same day I was starting radio. But anyways, so that's how the idea came about.
And before we get to that, how are you now?
So I'm great. Great.
Yeah, excellent.
I think it was fight or flight when I was first diagnosed, and then it all just hit me this year. I was like,
Processing time.
Yeah. So I'm great. I contacted the Cancer Care West in Letterkenny, and great.
That's very important.
Back on
actually.
track now.
By the way, because we often talk to Cancer Care Northwest, you were able to talk to people who could help you process this massive life change.
Yeah,
of course. Because you faced everything, didn't you?
All over.
And then there's they understand it, but we've spoken in the past. Just to encourage other people. Then a lot of people who come through cancer or come through something like this here, then after a certain while, this intense fear that it's about to come back or something else could happen, and all those things. I'm not attributing those emotions to you, Ciara, but it's normal and natural, and that's why you speak to professionals through these organisations.
Yeah, like,
just to talk it through, because mom, dad, sister, brother, uncle, auntie, whoever is your closest person, they don't always get exactly what you're on talking about.
And it's nice talking to. So I actually joined a course in Derry as well, just after February. So between that, it was like how to deal with your emotions living with cancer and going through cancer. So between that and Letterkenny, really, really helped me. But then, so me and my sister were sitting one night, and we were like, right, what does people need when they're going through it? So we came up with the 4 boxes there.
Yeah, and I have. Which one is this box? Because there's different ones.
There is, yeah. So that one would be, let me just see the back
there. This is the
there.
care package.
Yeah.
This is the chemo
box, yeah. So
okay.
And then so that's
a series of boxes.
There is. So that's the sleep and relax box.
Right.
But you can open them up. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know.
You can. That's why I took them up.
Do I? Okay. I feel like it was my birthday on Saturday. You know.
Oh, happy birthday! What age were you?
37. Right. So.
That one is...
Oh, lovely. Right, okay. Now this, I mean, there's the majority of people are listening, but some people, obviously there's quite a good few people watching as well, just to show them what's inside this box. So this is simple, but it's stuff that you might not have with you. So you've got slippers, you've got a mask, you've got fluffy, so everyone needs fluffy socks, don't they?
Yeah.
And then I presume, is that pyjamas or underneath, is it? I don't know.
That's the blanket. So, and then they can be done for men and women.
Yes.
So I think I've took fluffy socks, and
I think I'd walk around.
There's lavender pillow spray, and there's a bath bar, and then
talk to me about the pillow spray, because that seems like why would you have pillow spray? But when you're in hospital,
because you're not allowed to take flowers into hospital anymore. So what we've done is come up with 4 different boxes that you can buy someone. So our main aim is to help take a stressful situation out of an already take the stress out of an already stressful situation. So
right, this has got this one has got gin tea. isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so that's an anti-sickness tea. And then there's the anti-sickness sweets. And then
beautiful
there's
water bottle,
a water bottle.
Okay.
There's a notebook, a word search book, a pen. Just bits that other people would need. But that's what I'm saying. There's both men and women. I have found that the women's are more popular.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Maybe it's because we don't. Maybe that's not necessarily for the right reasons. I wouldn't discourage anyone to get one of these from a fella. For a fella, I think they might want them just at the right time.
Yeah.
So okay, and you've put a lot of thought then, of course, into what to put in each box.
Yeah.
It's just the wee things that give you a lift as well, isn't it? Make it a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, because you have to be cozy and comfortable whenever you are sick. And
it's really positive, like pulling on a pair of fluffy socks can just trigger a positive
factor,
thing,
isn't it? Really,
Yeah.
And then so that's what we did, and we've only recently started to post. It's like I'm not the best on social media, but I'm working on it. You know what I mean?
And it's a learning curve for you as well.
It is, but I'm not one to sit about either. You know what I mean? And
so which one is this box?
That's
now?
the radiotherapy box.
Right, okay. So talk to us then about the selection process here. There's balms here. There's for dried lips and stuff, presumably, and what have you.
Whenever I was going through radiotherapy, my skin was really, really dry. So there's body lotion, there's a foot mask, there's a heated eye mask, there's a word search book, because when you're sitting waiting for your treatment or whatever, you need something to do.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Pass the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. Lovely stuff. Right, so when did you launch all this?
So, it was launched last year, maybe.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of did markets and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then Siobhan's actually emigrated to Spain, so I'm
well done, Siobhan.
sole
Thanks for that.
trader.
We started this together.
She abandoned ship after Christmas, so she still does some of the social media side of things. But so then after Christmas, then I put a bit more time and effort into got the flyers and all done.
Excellent. So the packages are the radiation box, the chemo box, the sleep and relax box, the deluxe box. And they're all priced, I don't see the benefit in reading them out, but look, from 27,000. I'm too busy talking about government money here. €27 up to 55 bar shouting for the deluxe box.
Yeah.
I think there's lots of different people would benefit from this. Obviously, not the recipients, but dare I say, maybe fellas might struggle to know what to get the other half if they're going through something like this
and
here.
It doesn't even have
what
to
do I
be
pick
cancer
up?
related. Do you know what I mean? Because everybody likes a nice hot bath and can chill out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
okay, so where can people buy these wee care packages?
so on Facebook, Instagram, or just WhatsApp me. My number and everything's on.
All right, and it's WEE care packages if you're searching it on the social media.
And I have to say, my friend Andrew came up with that idea because
all right, Andrew,
it's
well
his
done.
birthday today too. So
happy birthday,
what
Andrew. Age is he?
30, 31.
Oh, what a joke.
Yeah,
okay.
no, so that's where it, that's where we came up with the
And
idea.
this could be anyone for a hospital stay, someone going into hospital to have a baby or anything like that there, or whatever it might be. It doesn't have to be down in St. Vincent's or wherever it might be for Letterkenny University Hospital or any setting, or at home even as well. Do you know what I mean? It's a nice thing that someone else has put together for them.
Yeah, and instead of having, because whenever people hear the word cancer or whatever illness, they panic. And they want to do something, but they don't know what to do.
Yeah. Or how to do it.
How you should do it.
Yeah,
so what we've done is we've come up with pre-packaged care packages that would just take the ease out of that stressful situation for them.
I don't know what your view, not your view of the healthcare service. I'm not saying it was bad to begin with, but having gone through it and everything you've been through and the care, the diagnosis, the care, the aftercare, what was the experience like for you? It was through COVID, so it kind of
it was very different.
Tops things up a bit.
Yeah, it was like the bus, actually, the Letterkenny Cancer Care bus, very good. They collected me on a Monday morning at the Lifford roundabout to stop us, coming. So Mum and Dad would have left me there on the Monday morning. The bus left me off there on the Friday, so I was in Beaumont for radiotherapy Monday to Fridays for 6 weeks, and so my family did a head shave for them back before I started chemo. So they raised I think 7,000 something.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
My brother Cahill, my sister Siobhan, and my uncle Luke all shaved their heads. So it was great. Like
Brilliant.
and then
I have to do waxing if I'm going to do something out there. Not that I have much to wax either, but anyway.
Well,
that's another story. And also, there's an event coming up in May as well, is it?
Yeah, my mum's 60th. So she is going to do...
Coffee
she
morning,
is going to
isn't
do
it?
a coffee morning in O'Flaherty's in Buncrana, and all the proceeds will be going to the haematology and the oncology for Letterkenny Hospital.
Brilliant.
And then there's actually a craft fair on this Sunday as well, so I'll be at
if I have that information here in front of me.
In Buncrana.
Lovely.
In the boys' club.
All right, well
2 to
done.
6.
Well, fair play to everything you're doing. If Siobhan hadn't fled, would she have been in here or you? Who's the chatty one?
Me.
Okay, right.
She's the social media one,
Yeah.
kind of. And then I love shopping and talking and, you know.
Brilliant stuff.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Listen, I think it's a lovely thing. I think it fixes. I think that all great inventions or businesses, really, what they have to do is they have to solve a problem.
Yeah.
And and I think this does as well, because I think it makes it easier for people who don't necessarily know what to get, and then they feel they're doing something right. And B, you know yourself, and from talking to others, this is what people want to receive, and it's targeted to what they're going through.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Listen, it's been lovely having you in, Ciara. Is there anything else you want to mention? Just to remind people, if you want to have a look at the products or order them, search out We Care Packaging, WEE Care Packaging, packages. Sorry, I keep saying packaging.
Packages.
Sorry. We Care Packages. And you can view the collection there and order and support Ciara. Are you full-time in this now, Ciara, or is it sort of...
It's kind of just starting off small,
Excellent,
but hopefully down the line.
That's the right way,
yeah, because
exactly,
I'm not one for sitting about, and I wouldn't be able to work full-time yet anyways with it, so it's nice that I'm able to do this.
All right.
Yeah.
Listen, you've done really well. Thank you so very much indeed.
No problem
And
at all.
good luck with the fair coming up. Good luck with your mother's
60th
birthday.
She's not good past 59.
Right, okay. Just say she's approaching 50, just from the wrong side.
Yes, there you go.
All right, that's actually a quote from Dame Edna Everidge, believe it or not, who's passed away during the weekend. But anyway, listen, thank you very much, Ciara. I'm delighted to see that you're doing well and hear that you're doing well.
Yes.
And I wish you all the success in the world with what you're doing there.
Thank
and
you
I
very
hope
much.
people support you in what you're doing. Okay, we'll be back with more on the programme shortly.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Are you worried about trees on your property? Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet are fully insured and have over 40 years experience in dangerous tree removal, tree felling, surgery and stump grinding. For peace of mind, call Northwest Forest Services Ballybuffet for a no obligation quotation on 913233.
Following on from their triumphant version of Translations, Ireland's National Theatre, the Abbey Theatre, presents Frank McGuinness's lively new version of Tartuffe at Greenan Theatre from the 3rd to the 6th of May. Directed by Katrina McLaughlin, this endearing comedy follows the hijinks of the irrepressible and charming con man Tartuffe. Book now at greenan.com.
The groom goes free. The groom goes free. Yes, you heard it. The Groom's Room. Evolve Clothing, Letterkenny Retail Park. The groom goes free. Call in today. Terms and conditions apply.
There's a gaggle of monsters you'll see around town, in every colour from bright pink to brown. And just like us, they have hopes, dreams and wishes. A new car, new windows, a holiday diving with fishes. They know just where to go for their dreams to come true. The local credit union who can help you out too. For all of your dreams that are big, small or strange, we've got you covered with our Monster Loan range. Monster Loans from the Credit Union. Imagine more. Loans are subject to approval. Terms and conditions apply. If you do not meet the repayments on your loan, your account will go into arrears. This may affect your credit rating, which may limit your ability to access credit in the future. Credit unions in the Republic of Ireland are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Thanks again for Ciara for calling up, and best of luck with her future endeavours there. Now, you might remember former election candidate and member of the Letterkenny Sudanese community, Thawiba Ahmed's been on this show in the past and talked about the situation in Sudan and concerns in Sudan. And we also know now that things have got very serious over there, and there's all talk of getting various nationalities out of Sudan, but that doesn't necessarily help the millions of people who live there. Of course, there's a food crisis and other matters as well, not to mention with a war ongoing, the dangers that presents. Thawiba joins us again. Good morning to you. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us this morning. I appreciate it.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me.
So really, to some extent, these are the concerns you've expressed in the past really coming to the fore now. Thawiba, what's the history of this conflict?
You know, we have been calling for intervention by the international community to solve the problem throughout 4 years, protesting and calling. And, you know, I'll talk about the history. General Al-Burhan, who is the leader of the armed Sudanese force, and General Hamiti, who is the leader of, the Rapid Support Force. This Rapid Support Force created on 2013, and both of those generals committed genocide in Darfur. Both of them were there, and they were demanded by the ICC. And in name, we were calling on them to be taken or sanction or personal sanction on them, because we know how dangerous the situation with them. And also both of them are controlling economic stuff. And I'm sure that because of the crime they are committing and because of the benefit and, the privilege that they have, they will not hand over the power.
And in terms
of the problem.
Of course, in terms of public support, do both factions split the support, share the support, or if there were a poll of the people of Sudan, would it be conclusive one way or other?
The majority of the people in Sudan are against all of this, and in the past, they were the friends of the past, and they committed the brutal break of the sitting in Sudan, if you remember that, 2019, and they also committed the military coup in Sudan in October 2021. They were the friends of the past, and now they are the enemies of today. And in both situations, the Sudanese people are paying the price.
And talk to me about your family and friends. They live, or some of them live, in the areas currently under attack. Are you able to make contact with them? What is life like for them at the moment? They don't have the luxury of international special forces coming to remove them from the country, of course.
Unfortunately, you know, the humanitarian situation for all the people is really devastated. No internet sometimes, no water, no electricity, and there is no also supermarkets or anywhere to get their food, their daily life. It is really very, very hard. Plus the terror and the horror. I have a story from my niece. I remember 2-3 days ago, I was talking to her all the night. She's 9 years old. She was silent for 5 days. And then when she heard the gunfire and the fighter jets and all of that, she was in hysteria. I was trying to calm her down because she's scaring her siblings. That goes on for the whole night until the next day. It is like a horror movie. You know, they just escape from that place to another place, safer place, and then they need to move again. It is unbelievable. It's heartbreaking.
What is the conclusion of this, Thawiba? You know, I mean, it's escalated. If there's no external intervention here, could this spread? What could eventually happen that's worse than what's already happening, which is terrible?
I think the escalation will go more after the diplomatic evacuated or the foreign people evacuated. You know, they will face their destiny over there. You just feel helpless. When you look at the situation, you feel just helpless. What you can do for them? trying to do your best, to save people. But from this place, I want to call to the international community and everybody, to help with the humanitarian aid and support, and also to find safe passages for the people of Sudan, for the civilian.
Because at the moment,
the same way that they
at the moment, it's financially impossible for most people even to flee the danger, isn't it? It costs an awful lot of money, and that will be exploited too, don't you know?
You will not imagine. Yesterday, I was talking to them to move from this, city, and it depends on luck, how they can navigate their way and go there safely. And they said the ticket from one town to another, 4 hours away, €1,000 per person. €1,000.
I heard Micheál Martin today saying that they are exploring offering humanitarian help, not humanitarian help as such, but even maybe getting people out of there for Sudanese who are Irish citizens now, who live here now. Is that something you think might benefit you or your family that are trapped there currently?
I hope so, if it is possible, but I am also concerned about the whole situation in Sudan and all the people of Sudan. I hope if there is a bigger solution, like ceasefire or stopping those, people who are fighting, or sanctions, I want the international community to take it serious, because during the 4 years they are not taking that serious. It is about the interest of some countries and intervention from other countries. It is regional or international. They don't look to the Sudanese people. They
it's
don't
very
at all.
much
They haven't been listened to.
And the strange thing is it's very much in the international community's best interests to establish peace there. Because, these types of wars, this type of conflict displace people. And then everybody's crying then as to, why people are fleeing Sudan and all the stuff that goes along with that. I presume the majority of Sudanese people want to live in Sudan, but they want to live there with food and in safety. So it is very much in the international community's interest. You could make the argument that they do all they can to settle things down, to find a peace and to find prosperity in Sudan.
I don't want to say it is too late, but it has been 4 years, and it was very clear, and all the Sudanese people are saying what they want, and it was a revolution with millions of people. But we haven't been listened to. Every country is not taking that serious. At least we said those two people, the head of what is going on, we call them by name. But nothing being done, because some countries are distracted, and in reality, seeking interest, and intervention will make it worse. There is some news now about Wagner, if you know, the militia is now supporting Hemeti and maybe other countries, and the weapon will be flowing inside Sudan, which, making it shattered. But unfortunately, sometimes we feel that they want it to shatter so everybody can take piece of the cake. Sudan is a very rich country.
Yeah, okay.
Unfortunately.
I mean, it must be incredibly difficult for you to be on the phone to a family member, being able to hear gunfire in the TAC, and of course you can use your platform to try and get the message out there, but you're helpless and you feel helpless, I'm sure.
100%. 100%.
Yeah,
yes.
okay. Listen, thanks for your time as always. I appreciate you giving us your insight into what's going on, and I hope that a solution is found as soon as is possible. Thank you very much indeed, Thawiba Ahmed there, who is originally from Sudan, of course, and has spoken extensively on this programme about the concern she has in Sudan, but also living here now, Irish now. Okay, 086 60 25,000.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
With everyone looking to shrink their bill these days, Dunnes Stores gives you more ways to save with Double Savers. First, you'll save in the aisles when you fill your trolley with fantastic low prices across thousands of great products. Then you'll save again at the till with our 10.50 grocery vouchers. Shrink your bill today and get a trolley worth €54.66 for just €44.66. Double Savers from Dunnes Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used in next grocery shop of €50 or more.
Hi, Brígine here from McDade's Bathroom Plumbing Tiles Buncrana. Our massive marquee tile sale in Buncrana is now on, with up to 75% off wall tiles, floor tiles and much more. Grab yourself a bargain this week at McDade's Bathroom Plumbing Tiles Buncrana.
Is the appearance of your staff important to your business? It's the first point of contact for customers when entering your premises. At C&M Embroidery in Letterkenny, they have a huge range of clothing covering all areas of the workplace. It's widely known that customers warm to and trust employees that present themselves well. Have your company name embroidered or printed on all your work uniforms. Contact C&M Embroidery on 07491 28097 and get your staff looking their best.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Fancy a European city break this summer? Discover the beautiful cities of Barcelona, Cologne and Milan with Ryanair. 6 flights a week for summer 2023. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
Right, cloud will gradually clear through this afternoon and into the evening with brighter spells developing. Highest temperatures of 8 to 11 degrees and light to moderate northerly breezes. But it depends where you are. We have these microclimates here, don't we? Got a card in from a listener to say, Dear Greg, could you please play a very special... Oops, that's tomorrow. Could have been a spoiler alert. That's why I should have handed this stuff to Caroline, because I'm useless. I'll do that tomorrow if you're listening, by the way. Appreciate you taking the effort to put a card in. Congratulations to Ciara on all her hard work. We're extremely proud of you. Love from all your aunties, uncles and cousins in Carndonagh. And why wouldn't you be proud? She comes across as a brilliant woman. Greg, didn't you have Mary T. Sweeney on, advertising indeed warning about the seriousness of this RZLT a few months ago? It was only then that many people learned about it and realised it was confiscating the rights of these landowners concerned. Of course, and that's what we do in this programme. We try and identify through guests or what have you what's coming up and try and give it extensive coverage. The same we did with the Dunfanaghy Health Centre. It's great to see that come to fruition now. Lovely interview with Ciara, such a lovely bubbly personality. The care packages are a lovely idea and thoughtfully put together. That comes in from Evelyn. I agree, Evelyn, they are really, really nice and probably just what you might need at just the right time. Okay, Tom McAvoy's the community fundraising manager with... Actually, it'd be good if I took him into the conversation. We'll get to Tom in a second. Stay right where you are. Caller says club football in Donegal is terrible. Only 4 good teams there, which is the harsh appraisal from a listener there. Right, now, Tom McAvoy is community fundraising manager with Pieta. He joins us now. Good morning to you, Tom. Great to have you back on the show. Okay. Here we go again. Another year has passed. Pieta House's annual Darkness into Light walk takes place on Saturday, May 6th. And already out and about, I'm hearing people talking about where they're going to do it and all that kind of stuff. How important is Darkness into Light in the Pieta calendar?
It is our flagship fundraising event for the year, Greg. Brings in roughly a third of our income for the year. So we are very reliant on it. And especially during the pandemic, you might remember I was on your station calling for help because we were really in a difficult position. We're glad to say now that the walks have regained a status back in our calendar. And this year, there are 13 events taking place throughout Donegal, 15 throughout Northern Ireland. And in particular, there are some islands doing it again for a number of years, Arramore and Tory Island. So it just brings a sense of compassion, togetherness, solidarity when somebody decides to take part in the event. As you know, the event it's in its 10th year now in Letterkenny, so we are really proud to say that event, has a long life in Donegal, and we're thankful so much to the community for helping to continue the fundraising that happens through Darkness into Light, but also a sense, of togetherness and solidarity with each other, especially after a bereavement to suicide, that people can attend an event and feel safe to speak to somebody else who they might feel they can share a story with.
Yeah. And I think too, it's important that everyone looks after themselves, and people who've lost someone to suicide, that it's important they seek help as well, because I have spoken to people in the past, or there have been cases in the past where maybe they haven't, and they take part in one of these events, and it can set them back a little bit as well. So I think I just want to take a moment to think about those who've lost someone to suicide, to make sure that they are processing it, that they have got support if they need to, and that they're in a good place to attend something like this, because sometimes when it's all over, it hasn't achieved what they might want it to achieve, and it could make their life a little bit more difficult. Now, I'm talking about probably a very small amount of people, Tom. I just wanted to talk to them today as well, to make sure they're looking after themselves.
And I would also like to speak to them, because we truly realise how difficult it is to deal with a suicide in your family, friendship, companionship, whatever it is. And just to let people know that we are there for them in the community in Donegal. We have a great centre in Letterkenny where, you know, we're seeing roughly 200 clients a year. We're on average seeing 65 sessions a week. And especially around bereavement support. Suicide bereavement support can be very difficult to rationalise, and, you know, for those who are dealing and struggling with it at the moment, lift the phone to 1800 247 247, where somebody will attend to you and, you know, deal with your crisis call if that's what it is, and, you know, make sure that you get the help that you deserve. We are there for everybody in the country, all ages, Greg, you know, from people as young as 6 to people in their 80s have attended a Pieta, and, you know, that's truly what Darkness into Light is about, is making sure that that service continues to be free of charge. And we'd like to also extend our thanks to Electric Ireland for helping to support our event once again for the 13th year. So thank you.
Of course. And just to add on to that, if you don't mind, everyone deals with grief and loss differently. There's no rule book or handbook, and none of this, what we're talking about, is trying to suggest that there is, but just though sometimes people see other people getting on differently in it, and you know, everyone is individual. Right, so how do people, like, I'm going to be shamelessly parochial here and say that I would say we probably have the top 13 Darkness into Light walks in Ireland, in Donegal. They all just happen to be better than everywhere else, right? Because our scenery and our people are so beautiful, right? So how do people register or find out where their local walk is, and how do they get involved, Tom?
Well, you're so right, Greg, because every venue in Donegal is so beautiful, is right. And we challenge people perhaps even to consider maybe going to another Donegal venue for the first time, perhaps this year, if they would like to change their aspect. Yes, darknessintolight.ie is the site that people can go to. You can also find it on dil.ie. And if you'd like to register yourself to take part in one of the 13 venues throughout Donegal, we'd be absolutely delighted. If you can do some fundraising for us as well, thank you for doing that. You help continue our service, which is so needed at the moment. We're seeing an increase in under 18s attending Pieta, and, you know, it is a challenge for our society to make sure that that the services are there for everybody who needs them in the country, and especially in the Donegal region.
And those younger people often avail of the Amber Flag programme in schools. It encourages young people to understand their mental health and allow them to speak in safe spaces, because it's great saying it's good to talk, and that's it. And by the way, I'm in no way cutting the legs from that saying, but we have to talk about where you talk, who you talk to, what you talk about, you know, because it has to be constructive and proactive, and it has to be a pathway to you feeling better as well. We can't get hooked up on phrases, I don't think.
Well, in fairness, schools are offering great choices for young people nowadays. They're offering, you know, the different ways of looking at life and the challenges that are confronting our young people. Referral pathways are so important. There are great guidance counsellors in most schools now available, you know, to people who maybe are looking for some extra help trying to deal with an issue. So, please reach out. Even parents listening here this morning, Greg, you can, reach out to Pieta if you wish to know how to deal with a challenge, maybe in your child or in your young person at home that might need extra help, by ringing that number that I referred to earlier, 1800 247 247, and you will get extra help if you need it. So yes, you're dead right, Greg. The challenges are that we need to know, and that referral for somebody who's in a difficult position is really, really paramount.
All right, listen, thanks for your time as always, Tom McAvoy, Community Fundraising Manager with Pieta. Pieta's annual Darkness into Light walks take place on Saturday the 6th of May. If you're interested in that, you can go onto the website to register. darknessintolight.ie. Dill gets them to dill.ie. Right, okay, that is it. Can you believe where's this morning gone? That's another Monday in the bag. I want to thank the team here for taking your calls. Caroline researching and producing, of course, and supported by Neve as well. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning at 9. Stay tuned. John Bresson's coming up around the Northwest next.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you